Chapter 1364. The Four Saints' Sword Formation? When the four brothers heard this, shock immediately appeared on their faces. All of them had heard of the Four Saints' Sword Formation, and it was even to the extent that the formidability of this sword formation was ranked in the top 10 of the sword formation manuals of the immortal dimension. If the four of them were really able to cultivate it successfully and cooperate perfectly, then surmounting their realms to kill their enemies would simply be a piece of cake. Thank you, Martial Uncle Great Tang. The four brothers expressed their gratitude with excitement on their faces. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, "From now on, we are one family. It's my duty to give you things to make you stronger. So, put away your feelings of gratitude and cultivate seriously. I look forward to the day when you can fight alongside me." But Tan Xiu's words warmed the four brothers' hearts. Soon after, Tan Xiu brought Seaway Monarch and Eagle out of the Thousand Spirit Palace and even the Lost Nipha's forest. Even though they knew that there were still people tailing them, and that there were even more of them than in the Lost Nipha's forest, they did not immediately take action. Instead, they rushed towards the entrance of the 7th floor. "Why didn't you kill them?" Seaway Monarch asked. Tan Xiu said indifferently, "Now is not the time. There are at least 4 groups of people following us when we leave the Lost Nipha's forest. Furthermore, I can't guarantee that there aren't any other experts following behind those 4 groups of people. So, there's no rush to get rid of them. Wait until we reach the 7th floor. I know of a good place to kill and rob. As long as they dare to come, I can guarantee that they won't be able to return." "Blackstone Cliff?" Eagle suddenly asked. Tan Xiu nodded and smiled. "That's right, Blackstone Cliff. The terrain there was dangerous, and there was a very strong spatial gravity. Even a Supreme Being expert would not be able to display his full strength there. That's why I chose that place as the battlefield. Let's speed up. We can't let them catch up to us before we reach Blackstone Cliff." "Okay." Seaway Monarch now admired Tan Xiu from the bottom of his heart. Therefore, he believed that Tan Xiu's choice wouldn't be wrong. 6 days later, the 3 of them finally entered the 7th layer of Nipha's abyss and arrived at the Black Rock Cliff. Despite feeling the immense spatial pressure, the 3 of them were not worried at all. They quickly stopped in a spacious area. Xiu, Xiu, Xiu. More than a dozen experts followed from behind. They were divided into 3 groups. The first 2 groups had 6 people, while the third group had 4 people. Without exception, the weakest amongst them was at the initial stage of the Golden Immortal realm. The strongest one among them was a late-stage perfected Golden Immortal. Devil race, Ghost race, Azura race. Tang Xiu looked at everyone with a smile on his face. Then, he said with all seriousness, "You think that I have a lot of wealth, so you followed me from the 6th floor to the 7th floor. You want to kill us and get our wealth, don't you?" The leader of the demons, a mysterious black-robed expert shrouded in darkness, sneered, "You're right. We usually let a fat sheep like you go. It's just that you seem to be quite capable since you can even subdue the famous eagle in the immortal world." Tan Xiu smiled faintly. "I'm more capable than you can imagine. If you want to kill me and take my treasures, then you must be prepared to be killed by me. Now, I'll give you one last chance. Scram immediately, or all of you will have to stay here today." One of the demon experts chuckled. "Since we dared to chase you to the 7th floor, we're already prepared to risk our lives. None of you are Supremes. Even if you're all late-stage perfected Golden Immortals, I'm afraid you'll die if you're surrounded by more than a dozen of us." Tan Xiu smiled. "It seems that you 3 groups have secretly discussed and are ready to join forces. In that case, all of you will stay here." Immediately, a transparent light barrier instantly enveloped everything within a radius of 10,000 miles. While the 16 people were all surprised, Tang Xiu called Old Sycamore and the other 3 out from the Heavenly Abode artifact. Quite a lot of enemies. Old Sycamore immediately realized the situation in front of him the moment he appeared and said with a smile, "Supremes?" The 16 experts of the demon race, and Azura race all looked horrified. Moreover, they never dreamed that Tan Xiu would actually bring along the Heavenly Abode with him. Not only was there a supremacy stage expert inside, But there were also 3 perfected golden immortals. 1 supremacy. 6 perfected golden immortals. The 16 experts who were trying to kill and rob Chu Feng of his treasures were frightened by this terrifying force. They even wanted to retreat. "I'll give you one last chance," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "If you're willing to hand over all your wealth, I'll tell you the way to leave this array and let you leave alive. Otherwise, you'll all die and your souls will scatter, never to be reincarnated." The demon realm expert snorted coldly. As the black mist transformed into a long saber and slashed at Tan Xiu, the 5 experts beside him also attacked. Kill! As for the other 2 groups of people, no one was willing to hand over all their wealth, so they chose to fight. "Old Sycamore, go!" Tan Xiu roared and immediately activated the rainbow illusory boundary. The instant Old Sycamore made his move, the rainbow illusory boundary instantly caused the 16 enemies to lose themselves within it. Although they all woke up in an instant. However, a 9th-grade immortal sword still swept past 2 of the demon clan experts out of thin air. Seaway Monarch, Zenith Venerable, Golden-Eyed Great Rock, and Nether Sea Whale King, who had been brought along by Tan Xiu, also launched their attacks, instantly inflicting heavy injuries on the other 4 powerful enemies. Eagle moved with incredible speed. His hands turned into sharp blades as he appeared in front of an Azura tribe powerhouse. Just as he wrapped his arms around the Azura tribe powerhouse, Eagle plunged his right hand into the Azura tribe powerhouse's left back and dug out his heart. Devour! Divine ability! Tan Xiu's body suddenly produced an enormous suction force towards the remaining powerful enemies. While they were affected, Old Sycamore and the others launched a flurry of fierce attacks. The surprise attack killed 3 of the 16 perfected golden immortals and injured 4 others. The other 6 didn't suffer heavy injuries, but they were still somewhat affected by the battle. A bitter battle. It unfolded within a radius of 5,000 kilometers. Although Tan Xiu's support abilities were extremely powerful, his strength wasn't weak either. He targeted an early-stage perfected golden immortal and fiercely attacked him. In just the time it took for an incense stick to burn, his opponent was in imminent danger and his injuries worsened. 2 whole days passed. Tan Xiu was seriously injured, and so were Zenith Venerable, Seaway Monarch, Golden-Eyed Great Rock, Nether Sea Whale King, and Eagle. Although Old Sycamore was a supremacy stage powerhouse, he also suffered some injuries after killing 6 perfected golden immortals in 2 days. However, out of the 16 perfected golden immortals, 12 had been killed, and only 4 were still bitterly holding on. It was only a matter of time before they were killed. Outside the formation, on the peak of a black rock mountain 1,000 kilometers away, an old man and a young man were sitting cross-legged, quietly watching the grand formation in front of them. They each held a bamboo tube in their hands, and the ends of the bamboo tube were blocked by a transparent ball of light. This was an array-breaking mirror. Those who possessed it wouldn't have their vision obstructed, and they could clearly see everything inside the formation. "Master, it looks like we really don't need to do anything. Those 3 groups of unscrupulous bastards have already been taken care of," the youthful perfected golden immortal said with a smile. The old man's aura was at the supremacy stage. He put down the array-breaking mirror in his hand and sighed. "I still haven't figured out the origins of those people. However, I can still recognize Eagle after spending so much time in the Nepha's abyss. It's just that I didn't expect him to recognize someone else as his master." The youth said with a smile, "Eagle is an eccentric person. His only purpose was to buy the soul condensation dew and obtain the soul condensation art to recondense his wife's shattered immortal soul. I think that mysterious powerhouse should have what Eagle needs." The old man nodded. "You're right. It's just that there's a supremacy stage powerhouse among them, and I can't identify that supremacy stage powerhouse. It's really unexpected." "Dao, who do you think they are?" The youth shook his head. "I don't know them either. Apart from Eagle, the others seem to have appeared out of thin air in the Nepha's abyss. I don't know their origins either." The old man nodded slowly and sighed. "We're here for these villains. Since someone has taken care of them, there's no need for us to do anything. Let's go. There's no need to watch anymore." The youth said, Master, if those four self-destruct their immortal souls, I'm afraid, the old man waved his hand. Don't worry. Those four won't self-destruct their immortal souls. Even if they wanted to detonate their immortal souls, it would not change the outcome. After all, the strength of a supreme being was not something that one could imagine. I can see that supremacy stage powerhouse hasn't used his full strength at all. After a while, the old man and the youth disappeared from the range of Blackstone Cliff. Boom! A violent explosion erupted from the great array as Tan Xiao, Seaway Monarch, and the others rushed out. They looked quite distressed and had serious injuries on their bodies. However, the last enemy who was killed self-destructed his immortal soul was directly blocked by Old Sycamore and didn't cause too much damage to them. Cough, cough. Old Sycamore coughed up a mouthful of blood. After rushing out of the range of the explosion, he raised his hand and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His aged face was full of a bitter smile. In Quiet Knight's heart, Xue Qingqing had always been the most beautiful heroine in the immortal world. Tan Xiao was an extreme lover, and with him around, the Rosefinch Holy Sect didn't have to worry about a lack of military force. On the other hand, Xue Qingqing was an extreme lover, and with her around, all the traitors in the Rosefinch Holy Sect would have nowhere to hide. Unfortunately, fate played tricks on people. Xue Qingqing infiltrated the Rosefinch Holy Sect as a traitor, and the lives of all her relatives were in the hands of Shade Demon Zhu Wushou. On one side was love, and on the other side was familial love. How could Xue Qingqing, who was an extreme lover, make a choice? Everyone could imagine the pain and torture she had experienced. It could be said that Xue Qingqing was poignant and tragic. Yesterday, Quiet Knight updated Xue Qingqing's character picture on her WeChat account, which completely matched Xue Qingqing's temperament and image. At the same time, she also wrote a special article for her. Brothers and sisters who were interested could quickly follow Quiet Knight's WeChat account to get a first look. Quiet Knight's WeChat account was JS00, or directly search for Quiet Knight's thoughts on the account. Chapter 1365. A concerned look appeared on Tan Xiao's face as he quickly appeared beside Old Sycamore. He stuffed a purple scent pill into his mouth and asked, "Are you all right, Old Sycamore?" Old Sycamore forced a smile and said, "I'm too old and broke through to the supremacy stage too late, so I was seriously injured in the end. The power of a perfected golden immortal's immortal soul detonation is not to be underestimated." Tan Xiao nodded solemnly. "You're right. If a perfected golden immortal detonates his immortal soul, even a supremacy would be caught off guard and be seriously injured. However, we still managed to kill all the powerful enemies after a fierce battle. This achievement is dazzling enough." "There's something I don't quite understand, Master," said Old Sycamore. "You want to ask why all the enemies suddenly became absent-minded when we attacked, right?" Tan Xiao smiled. "That's right." Old Sycamore smiled. "If it weren't for our amazing achievements at the beginning, I'm afraid it wouldn't have been easy for us to kill all of them. One of my divine abilities is to confuse the enemy's mind and make them hallucinate," Tan Xiao said with a smile. "It's also the best time to kill them." Old Sycamore suddenly understood, and the others also looked shocked. Although they had vaguely guessed that the enemy's momentary absent-mindedness was probably related to Tan Xiao, they were still shaken to hear Tan Xiao admit it. Tan Xiao glanced at everyone and threw the purple scent pill to them. Then, he said in a deep voice, "Eagle, accompany me. Everyone else, enter the Heavenly Abode artifact to recuperate. You don't have much time, so you must recuperate as soon as possible because we don't know what kind of dangers we'll encounter later. Only by quickly recovering to the peak will we be able to better face the upcoming dangers." "Understood." Old Sycamore's group of 5 nodded and entered the Heavenly Abode artifact. Tan Xiao looked at Eagle and said, "We also need to find a place to recuperate. We'll leave this place after our injuries are better." Eagle said, "I'm not too familiar with the 7th floor, but I know a place on the 8th floor that should be safe. However, I'm afraid it won't be easy for us to reach the safe zone on the 8th floor from here." Tan Xiao thought about it and said, "There's no way to go to the 8th floor to recuperate. There's still a long way to go before we reach the entrance to the 8th floor, and we'll have to pass through several dangerous areas. With the extent of our injuries, it won't be easy to break through. Let's go. Let's go to the mountains near Blackstone Cliff and clear out some magical beasts to create a safe zone. Coupled with the array formation that I've set up, we should be able to safely recuperate. 2 months later, Tan Xiao and Eagle had just barely recovered from their injuries. As the two of them continued on their journey, they encountered many dangers along the way, and only after a few narrow escapes did they reach the entrance to the 8th floor. After the two of them entered the 8th floor, they encountered several sneak attacks from powerful enemies, demonic beasts along the way. There were even some spatial cracks that nearly sucked the two of them into spatial turbulence. Master, the entrance to the 9th floor is 2 million kilometers away. We have to... Eagle's expression instantly turned ugly before he could finish speaking. He stared straight ahead and directly grabbed Tan Xiao's arm to stop them. Tan Xiao frowned and asked, "What's wrong?" Eagle said, "Our luck is terrible. We encountered the Nephis hurricane." Tan Xiao asked, "What's the Nephis hurricane?" Eagle explained, "Those who haven't lived in the Nephis abyss for a long time wouldn't even know of its existence. The Nephis hurricane is an extremely terrifying natural hazard in the Nephis abyss. Even a perfected golden immortal would most likely die if they were trapped by it. That's why it's called the ominous hurricane of the Nephis abyss. Everyone who encounters it will immediately avoid it." Tan Xiao suddenly understood. After a moment of silence, he said, "In that case, let's hide for a while." Eagle smiled bitterly. "It's too late. It's impossible for us to hide from the entire Nephis hurricane with our current strength, unless we've broken through to the supremacy stage. However, we can't completely avoid it. We can still avoid being harmed by the core hurricane. Let's go. Then let Old Sycamore take us away." Tan Xiao directly called Old Sycamore out of the Heavenly Abode artifact and quickly explained the situation to him. Then, the two of them were carried by Old Sycamore and quickly dashed away. A quarter of an hour later, a bitter smile appeared on Old Sycamore's face as he helplessly said, "The Nephis hurricane is too fast. Even if I'm a supremacy, I still can't completely avoid it. We need to resist the aftershocks of the hurricane. Hopefully we can save our lives." After a while, the aftershocks of the Nephis hurricane had already enveloped the three of them. Although the aftershocks were powerful, Old Sycamore was a supremacy stage powerhouse after all. In the end, he was able to safely protect Tan Xiao and Eagle. "What's that?" Tang Xiao's eyes penetrated the spiral hurricane and saw the mountain-like object in the depths of the hurricane as he asked aloud. Eagle said, "Rumor has it that although the Nephis hurricane is extremely terrifying, there's a huge treasure hidden inside. It's just that many supremacy stage powerhouses have come here in the past, but they couldn't obtain the treasure in the depths of the hurricane while ensuring their own safety." Tan Xiao took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Old Sycamore, do you dare to enter the hurricane's core area with me?" Old Sycamore hurriedly said, "No. It's too dangerous inside. Only death awaits us if we enter." Tan Xiao took out a 9th grade defensive immortal artifact from his interspatial ring and handed it to Old Sycamore. "I have a 9th grade defensive immortal artifact, and now you have one too. I think we should risk it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Riches and honor come from danger." Seeing Tan Xiao's firm expression, Old Sycamore immediately forced a smile and said, "Since you've decided, then I'll follow you. I hope we can obtain some amazing treasures inside this hurricane." Tan Xiao nodded and said, "Eagle, enter the Heavenly Abode artifact." "Understood." Eagle complied and immediately entered the Heavenly Abode artifact. Bush. Two hazy silhouettes instantly appeared inside the hurricane zone. As the two desperately resisted the violent tearing of the hurricane, numerous wounds appeared on their bodies. However, Tan Xiao's situation was a bit better than Old Sycamore's. After all, he cultivated the heavenly art of cosmic genesis, a demonic body cultivation art, so his physique was a bit stronger than Old Sycamore, a supremacy stage powerhouse. After Tan Xiao thoroughly saw what was inside, his eyes instantly widened to the size of a copper bell. His body slightly trembled. Old Sycamore wasn't much better than Tan Xiao. He stared at the thing in disbelief, his eyes nearly popping out of their sockets. "It's a corpse," Old Sycamore said with a trembling voice. Tan Xiao had once crossed the divine tribulation and felt the aura of divinity. He could feel the surging divinity from that huge corpse. This indicated that the owner of that corpse was once a god, a truly powerful deity. Old Sycamore turned to look at Tan Xiao and asked with a hurried breath, "What should we do?" Tan Xiao's eyes lit up and he sternly shouted, "I've said before that riches and honor come from danger. Since we've entered the hurricane zone and found a super treasure, how can we return empty-handed? This corpse should be the corpse of a god. We'll obtain unimaginable benefits in the future if we obtain it." Obtain it? Old Sycamore nodded firmly. His surging immortal force surged toward the corpse and instantly wrapped around it. Just as he was about to pull the corpse over, the immortal force he released suddenly ignited. The ferocious flames instantly burned in front of him and nearly ignited his body. Damn it! Old Sycamore retracted his immortal force and retreated 10,000 meters back as if he had seen a ghost. Only then did he avoid being burned by the flames. Tang Xiu's heartbeat quickened. Even though Old Sycamore's actions had almost caused him to be burned by the flames, he still instantly released his primal chaos energy and wrapped it around the god's corpse. Then, he flew towards the corpse while pulling it with all his might. This time, the primal chaos energy that wrapped around the god's corpse did not burn. After slowly pulling the god's corpse towards him, Tang Xiu could clearly see that there was a huge hole in the god's chest. This hole had a diameter of 100 meters. Although it looked small to the 30,000-meter-tall corpse, it was a fatal injury. Tan Xiu could sense a terrifying volcano surging inside the corpse's body. Although the corpse was already dead, the terrifying energy contained inside it was much stronger than when he was a supreme in the immortal world. "Come in." Tang Xiu made a series of hand seals. As he circulated the heavenly art of cosmic genesis to the limit, the tens of thousands of planets in his body began to vibrate. Only then did he barely manage to pull the god's corpse into the heavenly abode artifact. In the blink of an eye, he sealed the 30,000-meter-tall corpse in a corner of the heavenly abode artifact. In fact, he had even used the god corpse's aura to inform the formation pavilion master. "Let's go." Old Sycamore was ecstatic when he saw that Tan Xiu had succeeded. He grabbed Tan Xiu with all his might and rushed out of the hurricane zone with him. Old Sycamore coughed up a few mouthfuls of blood. As his body swayed, Tan Xiu immediately supported him and quickly hid under a black rock. He allowed the heavenly abode artifact to fall into a crevice in the black rock and entered the artifact with Old Sycamore. "How are your injuries?" asked Tan Xiu with a face full of concern. Old Sycamore shook his head and squeezed out a smile. "I'm fine. Although my injuries are more serious than before, I won't die yet. Hurry up and take a look at the corpse." Tan Xiu nodded heavily. Just as he sized up the corpse, he noticed that Eagle, Seaway Monarch, and the others had arrived. Heavens! Is this the corpse of a god? This corpse. Chapter 1366. Tan Xiu looked at the shocked five and said in a deep voice, "You guessed it right. This is the corpse of a god we obtained in the sinful tempest. Everyone, I can tell you responsibly that breaking through to the Supreme Being realm is no longer just a dream. This god's corpse is a treasure from top to bottom." After saying that, he took out a jade bottle and instantly pierced the arm of the god's corpse with the divine sword. A stream of golden blood spurted out from the wound on the god's corpse's arm. All of the golden blood was sucked into the jade bottle. Sensing the enormous amount of divine power contained in the god blood, Tan Xiu used a secret technique to seal the wound on the corpse's arm. Then, he took 6 drops from the jade bottle and gave them to the 6 people. "Is this the blood of a god? The energy contained in it is too enormous. Even if I add up all the power in my body, I'm afraid it still won't be as much as the energy contained in this drop of god blood," Seaway Monarch said with an excited expression. "Cut the crap. Hurry up and take the god blood and cultivate." Tan Xiu said with a smile. "I want to see how much help a drop of god blood can give you." Alright. None of the 6 people, including Old Sycamore, hesitated. They each took a drop of god blood and immediately sat cross-legged on the spot. Tan Xiu took a deep look at the 6 people and immediately chose to swallow a drop of god blood. As soon as the drop of god blood entered his throat, it turned into surging divine power essence and surged into his body. The divine power essence erupted in his abdomen and rushed toward his limbs and 5 bones. A large part of it even flowed into the universe in his dantian. Crack. Tan Xiu could clearly feel that his body was being rapidly nourished and tempered. In just a dozen breaths, the strength of his physique had increased by a large margin. Most importantly, his 5 viscera and 6 bowels, his meridians, his bones, and even his blood had undergone a qualitative change. He had become stronger. He was much stronger than before. Time fleeted by. For 3 years, Tan Xiu, Old Sycamore, and the others had been cultivating inside the Heavenly Abode artifact. During these 3 years, the cultivation of the 7 people had advanced by leaps and bounds. Very comfortable. When Tan Xiu floated up, a satisfied expression appeared on his handsome face. He waved his fist lightly. He could clearly feel that his strength was at least several times stronger than it was 3 years ago. Although he had consumed more than 10 drops of god blood in the past 3 years, he was confident that he could fight a late-stage perfected golden immortal. He was even confident that he could kill a late-stage perfected golden immortal head-on. Master! Old Sycamore and the others floated into the air one after another. Enormous auras surged from their bodies as they simultaneously bowed towards Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu smiled and asked, "How is it?" Old Sycamore smiled faintly and said, "After consuming 10 drops of god blood in 3 years, I'm just 1 step away from breaking through to the mid-level venerable realm. If you can give me another 10 drops of god blood, I'm confident that I can break through to mid-level venerable realm within 10 years. Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction and said, "It's a remarkable achievement. What about you guys?" Seaway Monarch said excitedly, "Late-stage perfected golden immortal, just a step away from breaking through to the supremacy stage." Me too. Except for Eagle, the others also chimed in excitedly. Tan Xiu looked at Eagle. What puzzled him was that Eagle didn't have the slightest fluctuation of an expert's aura. He simply looked like a mortal who had never cultivated before. "Master, I've broken through to the supremacy stage." Eagle's lips curled into a smile. He was obviously very satisfied with his progress in the past 3 years. Tan Xiu revealed a pleasantly surprised expression and asked, "You've really broken through to the supremacy stage?" Eagle immediately released his aura and nodded with a smile. "Yes, I have." Tan Xiu patted his shoulder and sighed. "Another one has broken through to the supremacy stage. As of now, our great Tang Empire already has 4 supreme stage powerhouses. It seems that this god blood is truly a priceless treasure. Our great Tang Empire has nearly 100 perfected golden immortals. If all of them consume the god blood, I'm afraid that many of them will break through to the supremacy stage." Very good, very good. After saying that, he gave each of them another 20 drops of god blood and said in a deep voice, "Obtaining the god's corpse is an opportunity for me and all of you. Seaway Monarch, the 4 of you will do your best to cultivate inside the Heavenly Abode artifact. As long as the god blood can help you, I won't be stingy. Cultivate for me and strive to break through to the Supreme Being realm within 10 years. Understood. Seaway Monarch and the others looked at Eagle enviously and nodded solemnly. A god's corpse contained millions of drops of god's blood. Tang Xiu didn't dare to imagine how many supremes and perfected golden immortals he would be able to produce in the great Tang Empire if he were to use all of them. Eagle, follow me. The rest of you stay and cultivate. Tan Xiu used a secret technique to completely seal the god's corpse and instantly left the Heavenly Abode artifact with Eagle. When the 2 of them appeared in the outside world, they looked around and immediately grinned. This trip to Nepha's Abyss was really worth it. Eagle, let's go directly to Nepha's city in the 9th layer. We'll immediately leave Nepha's Abyss after I buy the things I need and help you condense your wife's immortal soul. Thank you, Master. Eagle's eyes flickered with excitement as he said respectfully, 9th layer, Nepha's city. An incomparably huge black castle stood in the Nepha's city of the 9th layer of Nepha's abyss. There were all kinds of demons and monsters in Nepha's city. There were no laws or restrictions here, so anyone could kill or fight here. The strong were respected, and the weak were sheltered by the strong. This was the cruel law of survival that made this place extremely chaotic. Every newcomer would be targeted by countless demons and ghosts, and would be provoked countless times. Die. The moment Tan Shio stepped through the gates of Nepha's city, he was attacked by 2 perfected golden immortals from the demon race. He didn't dodge and immediately took out his divine sword. In just a few breaths, he killed one of the demon race experts and severely injured the other. Then he watched as the latter fled into the city. Tan Shio didn't chase after him. Instead, he directly entered the city with Eagle. Facing countless malicious gazes, he sneered and loudly said, "If you want to die, you can all attack together. Today, I'm going to start a massacre here. Come." Arrogant. A 3-eyed Azura expert appeared out of thin air in front of Tan Shio and Eagle. He was only 1 step away from breaking through to the supremacy stage and was publicly acknowledged as the 3rd strongest expert in Nepha's city. "Kill him." Tan Shio narrowed his eyes and said in a deep voice. Eagle's figure turned into layers of light, and a long spear that Tan Shio had given him not too long ago instantly enveloped the 3-eyed Azura expert. As blood and flesh splattered everywhere and miserable screams could be heard, Eagle's attacks became more and more powerful. Buzz. A hazy figure appeared out of thin air in front of Eagle. As a ghost streamer swept past, Eagle's figure instantly retreated. He sneered and said, "A supremacy stage expert?" An old man with ghost runes all over his face put away the ghost streamer and gave Eagle a deep look. He sighed and said, "I didn't expect you to break through to the supremacy stage. I also didn't expect you to become someone else's subordinate after breaking through to the supremacy stage. Eagle, Arturo didn't know that you've broken through to the supremacy stage, so it's his fault for offending your master. But for my sake, spare his life." Eagle sneered and turned to look at Tan Shio. Tan Shio let out a smile and said, "Do you think your face is valuable? If I don't give you face, what can you do to me?" The old man shook his head and said, "Young man, don't think that you can do whatever you want in Nepha's city just because Eagle has broken through to the supremacy stage. This old man has been in Nepha's city for more than 20,000 years, and I'm afraid that countless powerhouses will come after you with just a single order." Tan Shio sneered and said, "Do you think I'm a pushover? That 3-eyed Azura clan's Arturo can live, but he must compensate me for the psychological damage. Let me explain it to you. The psychological damage is what he suddenly scared me, and I'm very dissatisfied with it, so I'm asking for compensation. I don't want much, just compensate me with 10 million demonic crystals, and this matter will be settled. Otherwise, even if you protect him, he will still die." The old man frowned and shouted, "Young man, don't be so overbearing. 10 million demonic crystals isn't a small amount. I don't think Arturo can afford it with his ability." Tan Shio asked, "Do you want to renege on your debt?" The old man sneered but didn't answer Tan Shio. Tan Shio immediately called out Old Sycamore from the Heavenly Abode artifact and sneered. "I'm quite curious. How many supremacy stage powerhouses are there in Nepha's city? How many powerhouses are willing to die for you? If you want to fight, I, the great Tang Heavenly Emperor, will accompany you to the end." After saying that, he then handed over Seaway Monarch and the other 3 late-stage perfected golden immortals. The 7 of them glared at the Ghost Race Old Man with murderous intent. The Ghost Race Old Man's expression changed. He never imagined that this mysterious young man in front of him would have 2 supremacy stage powerhouses and 4 late-stage perfected golden immortals by his side. His killing intent vanished in an instant, and he waved his hand with a bitter smile. "I admit that you are very strong. I'll pay 10 million demonic crystals for Arturo." Tan Shio sneered and said, "A wise man submits to circumstances. You've been here for more than 20,000 years, so you must be a famous person, right? How should I address you?" "Blackface Ghost Emperor." The old man gave the 10 million demonic crystals to Tan Shio and said indifferently. Tan Shio was shocked inwardly. He had heard of Blackface Ghost Emperor's name countless times and knew that he was one of the top figures in the ghost realm. His strength was at least comparable to a mid-stage supremacy stage powerhouse. Tan Xiao cupped his fists and said, "The famous Blackface Ghost Emperor. I didn't expect that our first meeting would be under such circumstances. I'm well aware of your strength. I hope Blackface Ghost Emperor won't blame me for my previous offense. We came to Nifa's city this time to buy some things. We'll leave immediately after we're done with the purchase." I don't know if my brothers and sisters were stunned by Xue Qingqing's perfect and beautiful image after seeing her portrait. But it's obvious that Xue Qingqing isn't the most important person in Tan Xiao's heart. In his 10,000 years of life in the immortal world, Su Lingyun was the biggest demon in Tan Xiao's heart when he was crossing his tribulation. Today, Silent Night updated the prestige public with a younger version of Su Lingyun. I think my brothers and sisters will definitely like it. After all, if it wasn't for Su Lingyun, Tan Xiao wouldn't have so many harems, right? If you want to see Su Lingyun's portrait, please search for Silent Night Thoughts on the WeChat public, or directly enter JVS00 to follow her. Chapter 1367. The meaning of Tan Xiao's words was obvious. Since you've stayed here for more than 20,000 years, you've already considered this place as your home. Thus, we won't snatch your territory even if we're powerful. We'll leave immediately after we're done with our purchases. Blackface Ghost Emperor looked deeply at Tan Xiao and suddenly laughed. Good. As expected of the great Tang Heavenly Emperor who has risen to fame in the immortal world in the past century. You've really made me think highly of you. You're a guest from afar, so I won't be inviting you to a banquet. I believe you have important matters to attend to. However, I'll announce that you'll enjoy a 20% discount no matter what you buy in Nifa's city. If anyone dares to disobey me, I'm sure my ghost streamer will have a few more souls added to it. Tan Xiao's eyes lit up. He immediately cupped his fists at Blackface Ghost Emperor and smiled. It's my honor to be acquainted with Blackface Ghost Emperor. From today onwards, if Blackface Ghost Emperor wishes to travel to the immortal world, as long as he enters my great Tang Empire's territory, I guarantee that he will be able to travel unimpeded. Wherever he goes, he will be warmly welcomed. Blackface Ghost Emperor smiled and cupped his fists at Tan Xiao. Then he disappeared from the spot. The countless demons, devils, ghosts, and immortals in Nifa's city withdrew their malicious gazes. Their hearts were as clear as a mirror. Two supremes of the immortal world were existences that they could only look up to. If they coveted the great Tang Heavenly Emperor again, they would undoubtedly be courting death. Half a year passed. Tan Xiao spent a lot of money in the Nifa's abyss. The total amount he spent was more than 2 billion crystal essences. The items he bought could be said to be massive. It wouldn't be a problem for him to cultivate to the peak of the supremacy stage. There were many treasures, and any one of them could make countless perfected golden immortals secretly envious. At the City Lord's mansion, Blackface Ghost Emperor was shrouded in black mist. A ghost pearl hovered between his eyebrows and continuously extracted the dense ghost energy from a spatial crack behind him. A ghost king shrouded in baleful aura floated in front of Blackface Ghost Emperor. What's the matter? The ghost mist shrouding Blackface Ghost Emperor dissipated a lot, revealing a faint outline of his face. The Ghost King replied respectfully, "Master, the great Tang Heavenly Emperor has bought the treasure of the Thunderstorm Demon Palace." Blackface Ghost Emperor was surprised. "The Heavenly Demon Mirror?" The Ghost King said, "Yes, the Heavenly Demon Mirror." Blackface Ghost Emperor frowned slightly and said, "In half a year, he has bought the treasures of 6 shops. He must have spent a lot of money, right?" The Ghost King smiled bitterly. "The great Tang Heavenly Emperor is the richest immortal I've ever seen. According to our people's calculations, he has spent more than 2 billion crystal essences in half a year, and this is under the condition that you ordered us to cut off 20% of the people in Nifa's city." The black-faced Ghost Emperor had a lot of wealth, but even if he added it all up, it would probably only amount to this much, right? The wealth to be the heaved. Then the wealth the Black Xiong heaved. That he the Ming the same. However, the great Tang Heavenly Emperor seemed to have appeared in the immortal world out of nowhere. Where did he get so much wealth? Continue to follow them and don't disturb them. As long as he has enough wealth, we don't need to care even if he buys all the treasures in Nephis city. Right? Inform the attendants of the Ghost Palace and tell them to immediately put away the treasure of the Ghost Palace. Announce that it has already been sold. Blackface Ghost Emperor seemed to have thought of something and immediately ordered. This subordinate will do it immediately, the Ghost King said respectfully. Blackface Ghost Emperor's eyes flickered as he looked in the direction where the Ghost King had disappeared. He had already sent people to contact his old friends in the immortal world, but he learned from the information they sent him that this great Tang Heavenly Emperor was too mysterious. He seemed to have come from some lesser world and had brought many cultivators with him. However, no one was able to find out which lesser world it was. The outside world thinks that the great Tang Empire only has 2 supremes. Who would have thought that Eagle, who has already broken through to the supremacy stage, has also submitted to him? He clearly hasn't reached the supremacy stage yet, but he has 3 supremes under his command. How did he do it? In Nephis city, Tan Xiao, who had revealed his trump card, was very domineering. Anyone who dared to covet his treasures would be ruthlessly killed by him. In the past 6 months, there were still some ignorant fools who tried to steal his treasures, but all of them were killed without exception. A straight road. 9 experts of the monster race, 9 experts of the devil race, 9 experts of the spirit race, and 9 experts of the Azura race. A total of 36 people were carrying a giant palanquin. Under the gazes of countless demons and ghosts, the palanquin slowly moved towards the city gate. He was very arrogant, but no one dared to offend him anymore. No one has dared to be so arrogant in Nephis city for tens of thousands of years, right? This great Tang Heavenly Emperor is really an idiot. Doesn't he know that being too arrogant will only attract attention and he will be killed in the end? More than 40,000 years ago, the monster emperor of the monster realm, the bloodthirsty fiendwolf, was also this arrogant. However, he was a supremacy stage powerhouse and was just a step away from ascending to godhood. Moreover, he had 2 supremes with him, which was why he could be so arrogant. But he's not strong enough, so his arrogance is just courting death. He's so awesome. If I can be so awesome just once in my life, I'd be willing to live 1,000 years less. This great Tang Heavenly Emperor will be my idol from now on. He's so handsome. He's courting death. Arrogant. Along the streets and in the buildings on both sides of the road, countless residents of Nephis city and powerhouses who came from other realms were secretly discussing. Tan Xiao sat in the palanquin with a dispirited expression on his handsome face. He was fiddling with the heavenly demon mirror in his hand. Wherever the mirror's light shone, all the demons and ghosts that had taken human forms would be shown in the mirror. The last time I came to Nephis city, I pretended to be a pig to eat a tiger and got a windfall. I didn't expect that I would cause such a ruckus this time, so I had no choice but to act arrogant and domineering. Sigh, I've spent almost all of my immortal crystals and crystal essences. That treasure of the Ghost Palace is useless to me, so I'll just forget about it. I'll just treat it as giving face to that blackface Ghost Emperor. Tang Xiao looked at the reflections of those demons and ghosts in the mirror with a lack of interest and sighed inwardly. There were many immortals in the immortal world in Nephis city, but they were all ruthless and vicious people. He didn't want to pay attention to them. Suddenly, Tan Xiao's expression changed. He didn't look at the side of the street, but through the reflection of the heavenly demon mirror, he saw an old acquaintance. On the side of the street, Zi Tong was shrouded in a black robe. Even her beautiful face was covered by a black mask. She had a petite figure, but her strength was extraordinary. She was already a profound immortal expert. She had followed her great-grandfather to the Nephis abyss in search of a spiritual item that could heal her immortal soul. 8 years ago, because she was obsessed with painting and calligraphy, she finally comprehended the mysteries of the heavenly Tao and received the blessing of the heavenly Tao's immortal might. Unfortunately, her physique was too weak. It was supposed to be a great thing, but because her physique was too weak, she couldn't bear the explosive power of her immortal soul. In the end, she sealed her immortal soul and suffered serious injuries. At this moment, Zitong was vaguely amused by the handsome youth sitting lazily on the huge palanquin. She simply could not imagine how bored he must be to do something so preposterous and arrogant. "Let's go, great-grandfather." Zitong withdrew her gaze and tugged at the white-haired old man beside her. The old man smiled faintly and turned to continue on his journey in search of a spiritual item that could heal her immortal soul. Buzz, a surge of energy instantly wrapped around Zitong's body. Following the powerful pulling force, Zitong cried out in alarm as her body was instantly pulled away by that invisible force. In the blink of an eye, she fell into Tang Xiu's arms. "Little doll, aren't you beautiful?" Tang Xiu's right palm instantly pressed on Zitong's back. A long leaf of the solitary thread herb was slapped into Zitong's body as he reached out to remove her mask. "You pervert!" When Zitong realized that she was practically lying in Tang Xiu's arms, she was instantly embarrassed and angry. She struggled to the side and shouted angrily. Tang Xiu's hand was as fast as lightning. He instantly grabbed Zitong's delicate and slender palm and sent a purple ray of light into her palm. Looking at the white-haired old man who was pouncing at him with a roar, he punched out with one hand and collided with the old man's fist. Interesting. Tang Xiu's body trembled as he pushed Zitong away with his other hand. Looking at the retreating white-haired old man, he said with a smile, "You're really stingy, sir. Isn't it just hugging your great-granddaughter? Is there a need to act like you're going to fight me to the death? Forget it. Since you're so petty, I'm not interested anymore." With that said, he returned to his lazy appearance, slowly waved his left hand, and said unhurriedly, "Let's go. Let's go out of the city." Zitong's face was full of anger. She appeared beside the white-haired old man in a flash and immediately grabbed his arm. "Great-grandfather, are you all right?" she asked anxiously. The white-haired old man's face was full of anger. His murderous eyes stared at the departing palanquin and the languid Tang Xiu. If he hadn't heard that the guy had two supremes protecting him, he would have immediately killed that bastard. "I'm fine." Xinshu shook his head slowly. Noticing that many demons and ghosts were looking at him, he immediately grabbed Zitong's wrist and quickly left. Tens of thousands of miles away, Xinshu stopped at a corner of Nifa's city and panted heavily. Only then did he feel a bit better. That damned great Tang Heavenly Emperor is simply too arrogant. It's a pity that he has supremes protecting him. Otherwise, I would have killed him. Little Tong, what happened to you? Chapter 1368. At this moment, Xinshu's keen senses told him that something was wrong with his great-granddaughter. Zitong's expression was sluggish, and her heart was filled with disbelief. Only when she heard her grandfather's question did she wake up from a dream and stuttered, "Great-grandfather, body?" Xinshu's expression changed. He immediately grasped Zitong's pulse and used his spiritual sense to examine her quickly. A moment later, his expression changed. "A leaf of the solitary thread grass?" Zitong said with a strange expression, "Great-grandfather, that person pressed his hand on my back just now. I didn't notice it before, but the leaf of the solitary thread grass suddenly entered my body. I can feel that the damaged immortal soul I sealed is recovering at an extremely fast speed." Xinshu remained silent for a long time. Then he looked in the direction of the hand and murmured, "Could it be that he wasn't teasing you? He saw that your immortal soul was damaged, so he gave you the leaf of the solitary thread grass? Is it used to heal the damaged immortal soul? Little Tong, why are you in a daze again?" Zitong raised her left hand and murmured, "Great-grandfather, my hand." Xinshu's expression changed. He immediately grabbed Zitong's left hand and examined it with his spiritual sense. An expression of disbelief instantly appeared on his face. "Purple coral agate essence?" Xinshu murmured. Zitong said, "Great-grandfather, I don't know what this thing is, and I don't know how it got into my left hand. By the way, I remember now. That person grabbed my left hand before. Could it be that it—" Xinshu's expression became somewhat complicated. He would be too stupid if he still didn't understand that the great Tang Heavenly Emperor wasn't teasing his great-granddaughter, but giving her a treasure instead. "I don't understand." Insho frowned and said slowly, "We don't have any dealings with the great Tang Heavenly Emperor, and we only heard about him in the immortal world a few decades ago. Why did he suddenly give you two treasures that are very good for you?" Tong said curiously, "Great-grandfather, I know about the solitary thread grass. It's extremely effective in healing a severely damaged immortal soul. But what exactly is that purple thing? Not only have I never seen it before, but I've also never heard of it." Insho said, "That's the essence contained within the purple coral agate, also known as primordial essence. Purple coral agate was originally an excellent material for refining tools, but if a great divine ability practitioner refined it and extracted the essence from within, it would have a wide range of uses. It could even be used to refine pills. What you have in your hand is the essence of the purple coral agate. If you obtain it, you will be able to subtly change your physique and strengthen your physique. Even if you don't deliberately temper your body, the improvement of your physique will still be able to catch up to your cultivation level." "Really?" Tong asked in surprise. "Of course." Insho sighed and said, "That great Tang Heavenly Emperor is really generous, but his way of doing things is very strange. He used to be so low-key that no one had ever heard of him before. Then, he shocked the world with a single brilliant feat and became a peerless genius in the immortal world. Then, the great Tang Empire shook the entire immortal world and made a name for itself. Then, Nifa's city became arrogant and unruly. It's like he has 1,000 faces, but I can't tell which one is the real him." Tong's eyes lit up and she said, "Then, do you think Her Majesty can see through him?" Insho pondered for a moment and suddenly realized something. He said in a low voice, "Her Majesty and this great Tang Heavenly Emperor are quite similar. They both seem to have appeared out of thin air in the immortal world. They both possess great wealth and have a group of powerful perfected golden immortals by their side. They also have supreme powerhouses guarding them. Nifa's Abyss, 6th layer." When Tan Xiao and the others returned to the lost Nifa's forest, they arrived at the Myriad Spirit Palace. When the 4 Black Bear brothers arrived, Tan Xiao said in a serious tone, "Put away the Myriad Spirit Palace and enter the Heavenly Abode artifact that I always carry with me. Remember, there's a region inside the Heavenly Abode artifact that has been sealed by me. Don't force your way in." "Understood." After the 4 left the Myriad Spirit Palace with Tan Xiao, they handed the 10,000 jars of Myriad Spirit Immortal Wine to Tan Xiao and stored the Myriad Spirit Palace into the Heavenly Abode artifact that Tan Xiao always carried with him. Bush, bush, bush. Figures shot over from afar at lightning speed. When they saw Tan Xiao and Eagle, a cold glint flashed in the depths of their eyes. There was only one possibility for the disappearance of the Myriad Spirit Palace and the 4 Marquis brothers. The 4 brothers had entered the Heavenly Abode artifact that these 2 people carried with them and were preparing to leave the lost Nifa's forest. Tang Xiao slightly furrowed his brows and forced out a wry smile. Then he said, "Eagle, get ready to fight." As he said that, he called out Zenith Venerable, Seaway Monarch, Golden-Eyed Great Pang, and Nether Sea Whale King, the 4 late-stage perfected golden immortals from the Heavenly Abode artifact. As the saying goes, men die in pursuit of wealth, while birds die in pursuit of food. The Marquis family had been in the lost Nifa's forest for 10,000 years and had continuously brewed and sold the Myriad Spirit Immortal Wine. Everyone knew that the Marquis family controlled an enormous amount of wealth. The rules of the lost Nifa's forest forbade anyone from killing each other. However, as soon as they left the lost Nifa's forest, there would be countless experts attacking them and plundering their wealth. As expected, before they left the lost Nifa's forest, they sensed that there were dozens of experts tailing them with ill intentions. "Eagle, take us on our way." The moment Tan Xiao stepped out of the lost Nifa's forest, he immediately instructed in a deep voice. "Yes." Eagle released his immortal force and immediately wrapped up Tan Xiao's group of 5. Then, he rushed toward the entrance of the 6th floor at the fastest speed possible. When the experts from various realms appeared in groups of 3 to 5, Eagle's aura continued to rise. His long spear swept out in a frenzy, repelling everyone in front of him. Dark Barrier. Sky Demon Lightning Net. Azura Shield. More than a dozen high-grade defensive demonic artifacts, and Azura artifacts stacked in front of him. Eagle chose to let go of Tan Shio's group. It was as if he alone could hold the pass against 10,000 enemies, causing nearly 100 experts in front of him to retreat one after another. Kill our way out. Tan Shio also called out Old Sycamore, the Marquis, and the Dark Bear brothers. The 11 of them were brimming with murderous intent as they advanced, slaughtering their way forward. Everywhere they passed was gradually covered in blood, and the corpses of demons, ghosts, immortals, and Azuras could be seen everywhere. It took them 2 whole days to kill their way to the 5th floor. What the 11 of them didn't expect was that the number of experts who wanted to kill them and seize their treasures was so great that it shocked them. By the time they reached the entrance of the 5th floor, there were hundreds of experts chasing them from the front and the back. However, the 2 Supremes had experienced countless battles and were ruthless characters with rich combat experience. Moreover, Seaway Monarch and the others were deathmatch gladiators from the convict arena, so they could easily kill their enemies at the same realm as them. Therefore, although their speed was hindered, they were still able to forcefully carve out a bloody path. The 4th floor. Slaughter. The 3rd floor. Slaughter. The 2nd floor. Slaughter. By the time the 11 of them reached the 1st floor, they had already killed dozens of experts comparable to perfected golden immortals, and there were even more who were gravely injured. Stop and fight with them. At the entrance of the 1st floor, Tan Shio's body was overflowing with murderous intent. He wiped the blood off his face and revealed a sinister expression. The others were all injured, but their injuries weren't fatal. They stuffed the purple scent pills into their mouths and stopped moving while recuperating. Kill if you have the guts. The only demon emperor who appeared was at the supremacy stage. He was covered in scales, had a horn on his head, and held a demonic artifact comparable to a 9th-grade immortal artifact. Black blood kept gushing out of the ghastly wound on his chest, but he didn't seem to notice it at all. This wound was caused by Old Sycamore after Tan Shio used the Rainbow Phantasmagoria realm to affect his mind. Tan Shio looked at the Demon Emperor provocatively and shouted, "People of the Great Tang Empire only die in battle. There are no cowards who run away. Today we will either die in battle or kill all these damned bastards in front of us. Tell me, are you willing or not?" "I'm willing." All 10 of them, including Old Sycamore, revealed frenzied expressions. Their auras kept rising, and they were ready to fight with their lives on the line. Nearly 100 demons, ghosts, and immortals were shaken. They had never imagined that they would encounter such ruthless characters in order to rob the wealth of the myriad spirit palace's Heaven Marquis family. Although they were outlaws, the immortals in front of them were also cruel and merciless. Humans died for wealth, just as birds died for food. Although they understood this and were willing to do it, they still felt a little apprehensive. They hoped that their companions who besieged them would pay a little more. Senior brother, the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, spent at least 2 billion crystal essences in the 9th floor of Nifa's city. Many people were guessing where he got so much wealth, but I understand now. I'm afraid that he got it from the Heaven Marquis family. Since they have already spent the wealth, we won't get much benefit even if we fight them. So, let's retreat. A monster general from the monster world suddenly said in a low voice at this critical moment. His voice wasn't loud, but the dozens of powerhouses from the demon world, monster world, Azura world, and immortal world heard him clearly. In an instant, everyone's eyes were focused on the monster general who spoke. "Why are you all looking at me? Everything I said is true. They have indeed just returned from Nifa's city. Even Blackface Ghost Emperor knows that they spent too many crystal essences in Nifa's city," the monster general said in a deep voice. Immediately, the dozens of powerhouses who had chased after Tan Shio's group all the way exchanged opinions with each other. Then, they retreated to a distance of 1,000 miles away and observed the changes in the situation. Tang Shio, who was on the opposite side, didn't expect such a sudden change. Although Tang Shio's martial arts and combat prowess were very high, it didn't hinder his good looks. In Jingya's mind, he was just a little fresh meat. Did her brothers and sisters think that he was a ruthless butcher? Last night, Quiet Night updated her WeChat public account with pictures of Tang Xiu in the immortal world's ancient costumes. If any students have objections, feel free to leave more wonderful pictures on the public account, and Quiet Night will humbly accept them. Quiet Night's WeChat public account is GS00, or search for Quiet Night's thoughts on the public account. Chapter 1369. The Demon Emperor didn't expect that the words of a monster general would cause nearly half of the people to lose their will to fight and retreat immediately. Looking at the murderous Tan Xiu and the others, he fell silent for a while and suddenly sneered. The great Tang Empire is indeed worthy of its reputation. It's even more amazing that the great Tang Heavenly Emperor was able to conquer 4 immortal domains in the immortal world. Forget it. Since someone wants to wait for both sides to suffer, there's no need for us to fight to the death. You can leave. Tan Xiu sneered. May I know your name, sir? Melodin. The Demon Emperor replied in a deep voice. Tan Xiu sneered. I'll remember your name. I hope we don't meet again one day. Otherwise, I won't mind destroying your soul. Melodin smiled coldly. I'm looking forward to that day. After a while, the hundreds of powerhouses chasing Tan Xiu and the others retreated to the depths of Nifa's abyss. Tan Xiu made a hand seal and washed his body with clean water. Then he smiled bitterly. I didn't expect the demons and monsters of Nifa's abyss to go all out for the sake of wealth. Old Sycamore sighed. Humans die for wealth, birds die for food. This isn't just a slogan. Some of these powerhouses who live in Nifa's abyss have offended powerful enemies in their original worlds, so they're hiding in Nifa's abyss in hopes of escaping the pursuit of powerful enemies. The other reason is for the wealth in Nifa's abyss. Many powerhouses are willing to throw away their lives for wealth. Tan Xiu grinned. No matter what their motives are, the final victory is ours. We've killed to our heart's content this time. Old Sycamore smiled and nodded silently. The others looked at Tan Xiu in a different light. They couldn't sense Tan Xiu's perfected golden immortal aura, but Tan Xiu's explosive strength was comparable to a late-stage perfected golden immortal. More importantly, his divine abilities and secret arts were exceptionally strange and impossible to guard against. In the short period of half a month of fighting, Tan Xiu had displayed an endless number of means, which was simply an eye-opener for them. Go back. Tan Xiu grinned and took the lead to leave the Nifa's abyss through the vortex door. The return journey. Tan Xiu and the others were extremely fast. In just half a year, they were only a dozen or so immortal domains away from the immortal Lyceum. If everything went smoothly, they would be able to return to the great Tang Empire in a few months. In the vast void, Tan Xiu and the others were resting on a planet. Suddenly, more than a dozen figures passed by the planet they were on. Almost all of them were golden immortal experts. Only the golden-robed burly man leading them was a perfected golden immortal. Hurry up, all of you, hurry up. The sooner we get to the pristine immortal Confucianist sect, the more treasures we can snatch. The golden-robed man's tone was very urgent. Tan Xiu raised his head and looked at those people. After pondering for a moment, he shouted, "Stop them!" Xiu! Xiu! Old Sycamore and Eagle instantly dashed in front of those immortals and blocked their path. The golden-robed man's expression changed when he sensed the terrifying aura coming from Old Sycamore and Eagle. He immediately stood in the air and said respectfully, "Junior Zhu Changfeng greets the 2 seniors. May I know what instructions the 2 seniors have for stopping us?" Tan Xiu and the others rushed to the golden-robed man, Zhu Changfeng. His indifferent gaze swept across the dozen people and he asked indifferently, "I seem to have heard that you want to rob the pristine immortal Confucianist sect? Although the pristine immortal Confucianist sect is only a second-rate or third-rate sect in the immortal world, it shouldn't be bullied by you brats, right?" The golden-robed man said respectfully, "Senior, you might not know this, but the pristine immortal Confucianist sect is currently in a precarious situation and could be breached by the myriad sword sect at any time. Now, there are many sects in the immortal domains near the pristine river immortal domain that want to kick the pristine immortal Confucianist sect when they see that the pristine immortal Confucianist sect could be destroyed at any moment. So they've all joined the myriad sword sect's side and are attacking the pristine immortal Confucianist sect. Tan Xiu's expression changed and he asked in a deep voice, "You mean, the myriad sword sect has started a war between sects?" "That's right." The golden-robed man nodded. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and asked again, "Do you also want to add insult to injury?" "This," the golden-robed man let out a hollow laugh and said, "I once had a grudge with an expert of the pristine immortal Confucianist sect. He relied on the pristine immortal Confucianist sect's support and bullied me miserably. So I'm taking advantage of this opportunity to take some people to deal with them." "Kill them for us," Tan Xiu said indifferently. Bush. Eagle and Seaway Monarch attacked at the same time and instantly blasted the golden-robed man away, while the dozen golden immortals behind him were instantly slaughtered. In just half an hour, Eagle and Seaway Monarch killed all of them, including the golden-robed man. Sure enough, your combat prowess skyrocketed after entering the supremacy stage. Seaway Monarch sighed with satisfaction. On the way back, Seaway Monarch took a few drops of god blood and broke through to the supremacy stage. Zenith Venerable and the others were envious of his breakthrough. Zenith Venerable and the others could still fight Seaway Monarch head-on before, but they were now no match for him even if they joined forces to besiege him. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "The pristine immortal Confucianist sect and I have some relationship. We can't just stand idly by since they're in danger now. There's only an immortal domain between here and the pristine river immortal domain, so we can reach the pristine immortal Confucianist sect in 4 days if we're fast enough." "Understood." Everyone nodded with killing intent on their faces. Their combat prowess had skyrocketed after Seaway Monarch broke through to the supremacy stage, so they weren't afraid even if they had to face a sect war. He had even made plans to go on a killing spree. 4 days later, when Tan Xiu and the 10 others arrived near the pristine immortal Confucianist sect in the pristine river immortal domain, they saw tens of thousands of immortals surrounding the pristine immortal Confucianist sect. The strength of these immortals varied. Some were ordinary immortals, while others were earth immortals, celestial immortals, golden immortals, and perfected golden immortals. North Sword Bell Spy. He was a supremacy stage powerhouse of the Myriad Sword sect and also its sect master. At this time, North Sword Bell Spy was surrounded by a group of perfected golden immortals as he hovered in the sky above the pristine immortal Confucianist sect. He looked at the pristine immortal Confucianist sect's defeated forces inside the Grand Array and laughed loudly. "I gave you a chance to live, but you didn't cherish it. Your pristine immortal Confucianist sect can only face annihilation. I advise you not to sneakily send your disciples out, because all your paths have been blocked by the people of the Myriad Sword sect. The 100 disciples of your pristine immortal Confucianist sect have already become ghosts under the swords of our Myriad Sword sect's experts." Supreme Pristine Spring. He was the pristine immortal Confucianist sect's Grand Elder and the only supremacy stage powerhouse. At this moment, he was heavily injured and was being protected by the pristine immortal Confucianist sect's temporary sect master, Perfected Force. He looked at North Sword Bell Spy outside the array. The pristine immortal Confucianist sect, which originally had tens of thousands of core disciples, now had less than half of them left. "North Sword Bell Spy, no matter how arrogant and despotic you are, you still won't be able to break our sect's grand array in a short time. I feel that if you have the strength to brag here, why don't you use it on breaking the array? As long as you destroy my pristine immortal Confucianist sect's protective array, we'll detonate our immortal souls and drag your Myriad Sword sect down with us." Supreme Pristine Spring wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and bitterly smiled. North Sword Bell Spy's expression slightly changed and he snorted coldly. "Your pristine immortal Confucianist sect must be annihilated. We can't leave scourges like you alive even if we have to suffer heavy losses. Cutting the weeds and eliminating the roots is our Myriad Sword sect's motto. So, you don't need to be so quick with your words. Everyone heed my command. It doesn't matter if you're from the pristine immortal Confucianist sect or not. As long as you help us, you'll be a friend of our Myriad Sword sect. After we slaughter these hypocrites of the pristine immortal Confucianist sect, all of you will get a share of their wealth. Kill! Tens of thousands of immortals unleashed their strongest attacks and bombarded the pristine immortal Confucianist sect's Grand Array. The Grand Array, which was already on the verge of collapsing from the bombardment, rippled unceasingly. It seemed as though it could be broken at any moment. In the distance, Tan Xiu took a deep breath and quietly transferred the god's corpse into his interspatial ring. Then, he handed the Heavenly Abode artifact to Zenith Venerable and said in a deep voice, "Hurry back to the Great Tang Empire and tell Apotheosis Bella and Obsidium Immortal Father to bring all the perfected golden immortals here. Remember, you must hurry." Understood. Zenith Venerable took the Heavenly Abode artifact and instantly disappeared into the distant horizon. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 13 days had passed. During these 13 days, Tan Xiu and the others hid in the distance and observed the situation of the Myriad Sword sect and the pristine immortal Confucianist sect. The pristine immortal Confucianist sect's Grand Array was indeed very powerful. After being bombarded by tens of thousands of immortals for more than 10 days, it seemed as though it could be broken at any time, but it still held strong. Boom! After the Grand Array was broken, North Sword Bell San laughed wildly and said, "Everyone heed my command. Kill your way into the pristine immortal Confucianist sect. I'll allow you to burn, kill, and plunder. I'll allow you to use the cruelest methods to annihilate all the disciples of the pristine immortal Confucianist sect." Supreme Pristine Spring let out a bitter laugh and instantly soared into the sky. An immortal sword shot out from his body and killed the hundreds of immortals who were charging at him. "You'll have to pay a painful price if you want to destroy my pristine immortal Confucianist sect. Come, let's kill to our heart's content first, then we'll drag you all down with us." Supreme Pristine Spring roared. In the distance, Old Sycamore turned to look at the indifferent Tan Xiu and asked in a low voice, "Master, when are we going to make our move?" Tan Xiu sneered and said, "Now. Let's go." In just a short 7 minutes, Tan Xiu led everyone to the back of the Myriad Sword sect and the other forces immortals. They didn't speak much and just followed Tan Xiu's word, "kill," as they crazily slaughtered from the back with lightning speed. Chapter 1370. Under Tan Xiu's lead, the three Supremes and the rest were all perfected golden immortals. Therefore, they were like a sharp knife that directly pierced into the enemy's camp. Before the people of the 10,000 Swords sect could even react, hundreds of people were killed. Swords and blades flashed as blood rained down. By the time the Myriad Sword sect's experts realized what was going on, nearly 1,000 people had already been killed by Tan Xiu's group. However, most of those killed were ordinary immortals, earth immortals, and heavenly immortals. Among the perfected golden immortals, only 2 were killed. "Who are you?" North Sword Bell's spy instantly released his natal immortal sword and looked at Tan Xiu's group as if he was facing a great enemy. He was originally confident in his attack, but a group of experts suddenly appeared out of nowhere. This caused his heart to sink unceasingly. What made him even angrier was that the other party only had 10 people, but 3 of them were Supremes. He had the urge to turn tail and run. Tan Xiu ignored North Sword Bell's spy and looked at the injured Supreme Pristine Spring. "Supreme Pristine Spring, let's talk about old times later. Let's join hands and kill the enemies. How about we kill all these shameless people from the Myriad Sword sect?" Supreme Pristine Spring never imagined that the pristine immortal Confucianist sect would actually have reinforcements. Although the other party was small in number, they were all terrifying experts. There were even 3 Supremes among them. This gave him hope for the survival of the pristine immortal Confucianist sect. "Thank you for your help. Our pristine immortal Confucianist sect will repay your kindness in the future. Even if I have to sacrifice my life, we must kill every single one of those Myriad Sword sect scoundrels." Supreme Pristine Spring shouted. In another direction, dozens of perfected golden immortals from the Everlasting Palace watched the situation unfold before them. The old man leading them sighed. "It seems the palace master was right. Everything has its ups and downs. The Myriad Sword sect's victory was originally assured, but the sudden appearance of powerful enemies shattered it. 3 Supremes. I'm afraid we won't be able to help the Myriad Sword sect annihilate the pristine immortal Confucianist sect even if we all help. Grand Elder, what should we do? A perfected golden immortal asked respectfully. The old man sneered and said, the Myriad Sword sect is our everlasting palace's dog. Naturally, we can't let them suffer too much here. Everyone, let's help them. Even if we don't kill every single one of our enemies, we still need to ensure that the Wan Jian house suffers fewer losses. Then let's kill them. Dozens of perfected golden immortals from the everlasting palace rushed toward the pristine immortal Confucianist sect. Half a day passed. Whether it was the pristine immortal Confucianist sect, the Myriad Sword sect, or the other powers that had taken advantage of the situation, all of them had suffered heavy losses. However, thanks to the help of the Everlasting Palace's experts, the Myriad Sword sect's sect master, North Sword Bell Spy, had a much easier time. He even led the battle away from the pristine immortal Confucianist sect and prepared to retreat. Kill! A thunderous voice came from afar. Apotheosis Bella and Obsidium Immortal Father arrived with nearly 100 perfected golden immortals. Damn it! Where did they come from? North Sword Bellslayer shrieked in horror. He was able to clearly sense that besides the 2 exalted realm experts, all the others were golden immortals of the golden immortal realm amongst the nearly 100 experts that charged over. North Sword Bell Spy had lived in the immortal world for more than 10,000 years, but he had never heard of any sect that had so many experts. Even their everlasting palace only had less than 50 perfected golden immortals. The Inner Pill sect had slightly more than the everlasting palace, but it didn't exceed 60. Tan Xiu laughed loudly and said, "You finally arrived. Go ahead and kill them all. Kill everyone from the Myriad Sword sect. Kill all the bastards who followed them. Fellow immortals of the pristine immortal Confucianist sect, if you can continue fighting, don't stop. If your injuries are too heavy, go back and recuperate." Kill. Supreme Pristine Spring was also startled by the number of reinforcements, but after hearing Tan Xiu's words, he immediately realized that they were the mysterious expert's men. A brutal massacre. That's right. When Apotheosis Bella and Obsidium Immortal Father arrived with nearly 100 perfected golden immortals, the battle had turned into a one-sided massacre. Tens of thousands of immortals fell like wheat being harvested by a sickle, turning into a rain of blood. Myriad Sword sect's sect master, North Sword Bell Spy, was besieged by Eagle, Old Sycamore, Supreme Pristine Spring, and Obsidium Immortal Father. In the end, he only lasted for half an hour before he was killed. Even his immortal soul couldn't escape as it was destroyed by Eagle's shaman weapon. Including the Everlasting Palace's dozens of perfected golden immortals, more than 70,000 enemies were slaughtered. Not a single one of them could escape. The tragic scene made everyone feel stifled. Tan Xiu arrived before Supreme Pristine Spring and looked at his wounded body. After a moment of silence, he slowly said, "I won't give you any healing pills. However, I can give you an opportunity, as well as the pristine immortal Confucianist sect. Do you want it?" Supreme Pristine Spring asked, "What opportunity?" Tan Xiu said slowly, "I can't guarantee that you'll be able to transcend your tribulation and ascend to godhood in the future. However, I can guarantee that you'll at least become a late-stage supremacy and be qualified to challenge the divine tribulation. All the disciples of your pristine immortal Confucianist sect will also be able to produce powerhouses. In fact, it's not impossible for a few more Supreme Being experts to appear." Supreme Pristine Spring looked at Tan Xiu in astonishment and said in disbelief, "How is this possible? Unless a god helps, otherwise." Tan Xiu smiled faintly. "I can tell you responsibly that I'm a god." Supreme Pristine Spring looked at Tan Xiu in disbelief. After a long time, he slowly asked, "Your Excellency brought people to my pristine immortal Confucianist sect to save us from being annihilated. My pristine immortal Confucianist sect will remember your great kindness. However, how should I address you?" Tan Xiu smiled faintly. "I'm the Emperor of the Great Tang Empire, the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor." Supreme Pristine Spring was surprised. "You're the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor? You're the one who saved my pristine immortal Confucianist sect's Tao Master Qingfeng? Tan Xiu nodded with a smile. That's right. Supreme Pristine Spring thought for a moment and asked, Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, what does my pristine immortal Confucianist sect need to pay in order to obtain everything you've mentioned? Tan Xiu said seriously, the pristine immortal Confucianist sect will pledge allegiance to my Great Tang Empire. You will be the immortal protector of my Great Tang Empire. This, Supreme Pristine Spring hesitated. My pristine immortal Confucianist sect is in the pristine river immortal domain, while your Great Tang Empire is in the immortal Lyceum. The distance between us is too far. Do you want us to move our sect to the Great Tang Empire's immortal domain? Tan Xiu said faintly, Why not? Your pristine immortal Confucianist sect would have been annihilated without our help. Today is a chance for your pristine immortal Confucianist sect to be reborn. If I'm not mistaken, we didn't just kill the myriad sword sex people. The dozens of perfected golden immortals that appeared afterward were all from the Everlasting Palace. Do you think that the Everlasting Palace won't retaliate if your pristine immortal Confucianist sect continues to exist here? As the sect master of the pristine immortal Confucianist sect, Tao Master Qing Li was originally unwilling to pledge allegiance to the Great Tang Empire. But after hearing Tan Xiu's last words, his expression changed drastically. After struggling for a while, he finally looked at Supreme Pristine Spring and said, Supreme Elder, the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor is right. All the forces in the immortal world know that the Myriad Sword Sect is actually the Everlasting Palace's lackey. Now that we've killed the sect master of the Myriad Sword Sect and so many perfected golden immortals of the Everlasting Palace, I'm afraid that the Everlasting Palace will definitely investigate us. If we continue to stay here, our sect will be annihilated. It's better to pledge allegiance to the Great Tang Empire. Supreme Pristine Spring thought for a long time and finally said, Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, this matter is of great importance. I need to discuss it with the higher-ups of the sect. If everyone agrees, my pristine immortal Confucianist sect will join the Great Tang Empire. Alright. Tan Xiu smiled faintly and returned to the camp of the Great Tang Empire's powerhouses. He secretly took out nearly 100 jade bottles and placed 10 drops of god blood in each of them. Then, he quietly handed them to every perfected golden immortal and solemnly transmitted his voice to them. No one is allowed to spread the news of the god blood. Otherwise, I'll execute them for treason. God blood? Nearly 100 perfected golden immortals were all shocked. Soon after, Tan Xiu handed the jade bottles to Apotheosis Bella and Obsidium Immortal Father and transmitted his voice to them. I'll give each of the other perfected golden immortals 10 drops of god blood and you 30 drops each. I hope that your cultivation will improve. Also, I'll go into seclusion to refine pills after I return to the Great Tang Empire. Once I've successfully refined the Divinity Attainment Pill, I'll give each of you a Divinity Attainment Pill as long as your cultivation can break through to the late stage of the Supremacy stage. 30 drops of God Blood? Soul Attainment Pill? Apotheosis Bella and Obsidium Immortal Father looked at each other. Their bodies trembled slightly from excitement. Be it the God Blood or the Soul Attainment Pill, both were absolute treasures for people at their current stage. If they could obtain it, their chances of ascending to godhood in the future would increase by several times. Xiu, where did you get so much god blood? The Apotheosis Bella asked. Tan Xiu replied, I obtained a god's corpse in Nifa's abyss. It's almost a complete corpse. Therefore, I have at least a few million drops of god blood in my possession. Even a strand of hair on that god's corpse is an incredible treasure in the eyes of immortals. Therefore, it's time for our Great Tang Empire to enter a period of rapid development. It's almost time for us to take our revenge. Hiss. Although Apotheosis Bella had a tough mind, she was still shocked by Tan Xiu's words. It was an almost complete corpse. It was simply a treasure trove in the eyes of immortals. If used well, this god's corpse could increase the overall strength of a force by tens of millions of times. Some readers shared Zitong's portrait on their WeChat account. It was so beautiful that even Silent Night was tempted by it. Many of her brothers were crying piteously for her to be pushed down. How could Tan Xiu be such a person? If anyone was going to be pushed down, it should be Silent Night, right? They seriously criticized this reader who shared the portrait. It was extremely unscientific to make a supporting character more beautiful than the heroine. If you want to be the first to see a beauty every day, please quickly log into WeChat and search for the official account, Silent Night Thoughts, or directly search for JYJS00. Not only were there wonderful and colorful portraits, but there were also all kinds of beautiful portraits. Chapter 1371. Half a day later, Supreme Pristine Spring arrived in front of Tan Xiu and bowed. The higher-ups of the Pristine Immortal Confucianist sect have discussed this matter, and we've come to the conclusion that we agree to join the Great Tang Empire. If you can fulfill your promise, Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, then our Pristine Immortal Confucianist sect and the Great Tang Empire will become one entity in the future. Our entire sect is willing to pledge allegiance to you. Tan Xiu narrowed his eyes and asked, "Do you want to know why I risked defending the Everlasting Hall to bring so many people to save your Pristine Immortal Confucianist sect?" Supreme Pristine Spring said, "This is exactly what I'm puzzled about. I hope the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor can dispel it. My wife is the disciple of your Pristine Immortal Confucian sect's Taoist Guai," Tan Xiu said with a faint smile. "If you want to know my true identity, you can call Tao Master Guai over." Supreme Pristine Spring was stunned and said in disbelief, "My Pristine Immortal Confucian sect's disciples are all men. How could there be any female disciples?" Tan Xiu smiled and said, "You'll know when you call Tao Master Guai." After a while, Tao Master Guai, who was riddled with scars, flew to the front of Supreme Pristine Spring and Tan Xiu. The moment he saw Tan Xiu, he revealed a faint excitement and said respectfully, "Greetings, Star. Great Tang Heavenly Emperor." "You're my wife's master," said Tan Xiu with a faint smile. "We're on the same side, so there's no need to be overly polite. Please explain it to me." Tao Master Guai smiled and said, "Grand Elder, you and I used to ascend to the immortal world from Earth just like me. Before I ascended, I left behind an inheritance on Earth. In the end, it was obtained by the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor's wife. Therefore, she can also be considered a member of our Pristine Immortal Confucianist sect." Supreme Pristine Spring was enlightened. He looked at Tan Xiu with a strange expression and asked, "Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, did your wife ascend to the immortal world from Earth?" Tan Xiu said with a faint smile, "I'm also from Earth. My Great Tang Empire, on the other hand, has hundreds of thousands of cultivators who came from Earth. It could be said that even if he ascended to become a god, Earth would still be his root." Supreme Pristine Spring, which dynasty did you ascend from? What was his name on Earth? Supreme Clear Spring said with a smile, "I ascended to the immortal world in 479 BC. I still remember that my country's name was Lu. As for my previous name, I am Kong Ming Chiu, courtesy name Zhong and I." "Confucius!" Tan Xiu cried out involuntarily. Supreme Pristine Spring was surprised. The Great Tang Heavenly Emperor actually knows about it? Tan Xiu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "There's no one on Earth who doesn't know you. You're the founder of the Confucian school, respected by countless people in the past 5,000 years. You're a famous thinker and educator. I never thought that I would be able to meet a great man of the past." Supreme Clear Spring smiled and said, "That's all in the past when I was a mortal. It's not worth mentioning." Tan Xiu transmitted his voice, "Supreme Clear Spring, remember my former name, Rosefinch Holy Sect, Star Cultivation Great Emperor." "You?" Supreme Clear Spring's pupils shrunk and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He looked as if he had seen a ghost and exclaimed, "Didn't you already perish?" Tan Xiu transmitted his voice again. "Don't make it public. I'm only willing to tell you because you're already at the supreme stage. However, you must remember that my enemies are the Inner Pill Sect and the Everlasting Palace. I didn't die. I just started over again. I founded the Great Tang Empire to destroy the Inner Pill Sect and the Everlasting Palace, as well as the Myriad Sword Sect." Supreme Clear Spring understood and looked at Tan Xiu with more respect. He bowed again and said, "From now on, the pristine immortal Confucian sect will be loyal to you. Your Majesty, everyone in the pristine immortal Confucian sect will address you as such from now on." Alright. Tan Xiu patted his shoulder and said, "The status of the disciples of the pristine immortal Confucian sect is very sensitive now. I need all of you to enter the heavenly abode artifact, and I'll take you to the great Tang Empire. In addition, I need all of you to go into seclusion and cultivate for the next 300 years. You're not allowed to appear anywhere else in the immortal world. We'll fight the Inner Pill sect and the Everlasting Palace 300 years from now." 2 days later, Tan Xiu rushed to the immortal domain of the great Tang Empire with Eagle while the others entered the heavenly abode artifact. A few days after they left, a piece of news swept through the entire immortal world like a hurricane. All the disciples of the pristine immortal Confucian sect had disappeared as if they had evaporated from the world. The sect master of the Myriad Sword sect, North Sword Bellspy, had died in battle at the pristine immortal Confucian sect along with tens of thousands of experts from the Sword sect and the Everlasting Palace. Shortly after, the leader of the remaining 6 perfected golden immortals of the Myriad Sword sect, Supreme Lord Windsward, announced that the Myriad Sword sect would be closed for 1,000 years and would no longer interfere with the matters of the immortal world. After that, the hundreds of millions of disciples of the Sword sect had vanished without a trace in a short period of half a year. Even their Myriad Sword sect's former headquarters had become completely empty, and not a single person could be seen outside the Rosefinch Holy Sect. Great Emperor Danqing sat cross-legged in the palace and looked at the livid and furious zither demon Juyao opposite him. He said lightly, "Don't let your anger cloud your rationality. Haven't you noticed that there's a pair of invisible hands secretly manipulating everything? Is it targeting our Inner Pill sect and the Everlasting Palace?" Zither demon Juyao said angrily, "Since you've noticed it, then tell me. Who's so daring to provoke our 2 super sects?" Great Emperor Danqing said, "It's not a provocation. They've already killed our people. Have you counted how many powerhouses our sects have lost in the past 100 years? Is there a need to count it?" Zither demon Juyao angrily retorted, "My Everlasting Palace has lost more than half of our powerhouses. Even I, Myriad Thunder Supreme, was killed by someone. The number of perfected golden immortals and golden immortals my Inner Pill sect has lost may be less than half, but it's still a lot," said Great Emperor Danqing. "Therefore, our primary task now is to find out who's behind the scenes and figure out their forces. Then, we'll kill them and completely remove the root of the problem." Zither demon Juyao calmed down and slowly said, "Do you think it's possible that the mastermind is related to the Rosefinch Holy Sect? Or is it related to the mysterious 4 Sacred Abode?" "It shouldn't be the 4 Sacred Abode," said Great Emperor Danqing. "The 4 Sacred Abode may be mysterious, but I've already figured out their origins after so many years of investigation." "You figured out their origins?" Zither demon Juyao was surprised. "Where exactly is this 4 Sacred Abode? Who are they exactly? Why do they want to help the Rosefinch Holy Sect?" "The 4 Sacred Abode actually has a deep relationship with the Rosefinch Holy Sect," said Great Emperor Danqing. "More than 100,000 years ago, they were even one entity. They were also the largest force in the immortal world at that time. I don't think I need to tell you what they were called at that time, right? The current master of the 4 Sacred Abode is the Sky Exterminator Old Beggar. You're not unfamiliar with him, are you?" Zither demon Juyao's expression changed and suddenly turned murderous. "So it turns out to be that old geezer. Tell me, where is the 4 Sacred Abode? I haven't found the specific address yet." Great Emperor Danqing shook his head. "But it shouldn't be in the immortal world. It should be in some heavenly abode world connected to the immortal world. Don't be anxious. Wait until the people of the Inner Pill sect find the specific location of the 4 Sacred Abode. That's when they'll be annihilated. The 4 Sacred Abode has brought us huge losses in the past hundreds of years," said Zither demon Juyao coldly. "We must find and annihilate them." Great Emperor Danqing shifted to the continent where the Rosefinch Holy Sect was located and sneered. It's not only the four sacred abode, but also the Rosefinch Holy Sect. If I'm not wrong, the Vermilion Bird Holy Sect can only last for another 1,000 years. After 1,000 years, it will be time for them to perish. Suddenly, Great Emperor Danqing's expression changed. His and Zither Demon Jiuyao's figures disappeared into thin air and reappeared outside the Rosefinch Holy Sect's array. Who's there? Great Emperor Danqing looked at the two approaching figures and shouted coldly. Apotheosis Bella let out a bell-like laughter, whereas Sablefiend Scorpio, who had just broken through to the supremacy stage not long ago, burst into laughter and said, Great Emperor Danqing, Zither Demon Jiuyao, both of you are here. Our luck is really good. I hope you can stay here forever and wait for us to blow up your immortal bodies and crush your immortal souls. Two Supremes? Great Emperor Danqing unleashed his immortal long saber and fiercely slashed down at the two women. I'm Apotheosis Bella. I ask everyone from the Rosefinch Holy Sect to open the array and let us in. Apotheosis Bella grabbed Sablefiend Scorpio and unleashed her flowing light wings to the limit. In a flash, she evaded Great Emperor Danqing's fierce strike and rushed into the Rosefinch Holy Sect's protective array. Inside the array, Star Tears looked at Apotheosis Bella and Sablefiend Scorpio, who were rushing over, and immediately said, They're on our side, Sect Master. Let them in quickly. Supreme Star Soul didn't hesitate at all. Apotheosis Bella had helped the Vermilion Bird Holy Sect too much over the past several hundred years. She was definitely a trustworthy person. As for the other supremacy, although he didn't know who she was, he was relieved that she came with Apotheosis Bella and his younger sister, Star Tears. Apotheosis Bella and Sablefiend Scorpio sensed the crack in the array. The two women entered lightning fast and quickly arrived in front of Supreme Star Soul and Star Tears. Who's here? Supreme Star Radiance flashed from a distance and instantly appeared in front of everyone. Greetings, Supreme Star Radiance. Apotheosis Bella and Sablefiend Scorpio knew that Supreme Star Radiance had an extremely high seniority, so they saluted him. Supreme Star Radiance immediately looked excited upon seeing Apotheosis Bella and sighed. Apotheosis Bella, we've long been looking forward to seeing you come in and not fight alone outside. We've always remembered what you've done for the Rosefinch Holy Sect for hundreds of years. Supreme Star Radiance is too serious, Apotheosis Bella respectfully replied. It's what I should do. After saying that, she turned to look at Supreme Star Soul, a look of hesitation appearing on her beautiful face. It's the end of the month. I'm begging for a monthly vote. But if I don't have a monthly vote, I'm fine with a recommendation vote. Chapter 1372. Apotheosis Bella recalled what Tan Xiao told her before she came to the Rosefinch Holy Sect. Now that she looked at Supreme Star Soul again, she hesitated for a few seconds before cupping her fists and saying, Bella greets father. Star Tears couldn't help laughing at the side. An awkward look appeared on Apotheosis Bella's beautiful face and she said in a low voice, He told me to address him like this. A smile appeared on the corner of Supreme Star Soul's mouth and he laughed out loud. Good. I'm very satisfied with this title. Bella, you can call me that from now on. Apotheosis Bella hurriedly said, Let's find a quiet place. I have something important to tell you. Supreme Star Soul knew that Apotheosis Bella and Sablefiend Scorpio risked their lives to break into the Rosefinch Holy Sect for something very important, so he quickly brought the two of them to the Rosefinch Holy Sect's conference hall. After activating the array inside the hall and isolating it from the outside world, he asked, Bella, what's the important matter that Xiao asked you to come here? Also, with the two of you Supreme being experts here, does he have any other experts protecting him? Apotheosis Bella took out a jade bottle from her interspatial ring and handed it to Supreme Star Soul, saying, There are 3 reasons why Xiao asked us to come to the Rosefinch Holy Sect. First, he asked me and Sablefiend Scorpio to guard the Rosefinch Holy Sect in case the Inner Pill Sect and the Everlasting Palace suddenly break the Rosefinch Holy Sect's protective array and launch an attack. Second, we brought a lot of medicinal pills and divine weapons that should be of great help to the Rosefinch Holy Sect. Third, we brought this bottle. Supreme Star Soul excitedly said, "You two Supremes are here. Together with the 3 Supremes of the Rosefinch Holy Sect, we now have a total of 5 Supremes. Even if we were to fight them now, it would be hard to say who would win in the end." "We do have 5 Supremes, Big Brother." Star Tears shook her head and said, "But you should be well aware that apart from the one from the Inner Pill sect, his combat prowess is very formidable. Even if several Supremes join hands to besiege him, it will be very difficult for them to kill him. We might even suffer some losses." Supreme Star Soul calmed down and nodded silently. "What you said makes sense. What's in this jade bottle, Bella?" Upon seeing that Supreme Star Soul was about to unplug the jade bottle, Apotheosis Bella hurriedly stopped him and said, "Father, don't open the bottle now. This was the blood of a god. Every drop was very precious. In the future, when you want to extract the god's blood from it, you must use your power to conceal its aura. This is to prevent people nearby from recognizing it and bringing unnecessary trouble." "What did you say?" Supreme Star Soul's body stiffened as he looked at Apotheosis Bella in disbelief. Star Tears also hurriedly grabbed Apotheosis Bella's arm and asked in shock, "Bella, you said that this jade bottle contains god blood? How is this possible? If I remember correctly, the Myriad Holy Sect obtained some god's blood from somewhere more than 100,000 years ago and was besieged by countless powerhouses in the immortal world. Even dozens of Supremes were involved. In that battle, there were more than a dozen Supremacy Stage powerhouses that died, and countless perfected golden immortals. Nearly 100 drops of God's blood were eventually obtained by powerhouses from various forces. After more than 100,000 years, it's said that the amount of God's blood has been decreasing. Even if there's still some God's blood left in the immortal world, I'm afraid it's only a handful. Bella, where did Shio get this God's blood? How many drops are there?" A smile appeared on Apotheosis Bella's face. She looked at the 3 pairs of eyes staring at her and smiled. "There's a total of 100,000 drops of God's blood in here." "What?" Star Tear's eyes widened. She instantly snatched the jade bottle from Supreme Star Soul's hand and released her power to seal the mouth of the jade bottle. Then she sent her spiritual sense inside the jade bottle. When she figured out how much God's blood was in the jade bottle, her whole body trembled and the shock on her face reached a point that was hard to describe. It was just too shocking. Star Tears never thought that there would be so much God's blood in the immortal world. The amount was simply terrifying. Supreme Star Soul snatched the jade bottle. When he figured out the amount of God's blood inside, he was already numb from shock. He stared blankly at Apotheosis Bella and murmured, "Where did it come from?" Apotheosis Bella smiled. "Shio went to the Nepha's abyss some time ago and obtained a nearly complete God's corpse there. Therefore, the amount of God's blood he obtained is millions, nearly 10 million drops. This time, he asked us to send 100,000 drops to the Rosefinch Holy Sect's powerhouses to use it without being stingy. He wants all the powerhouses above the Golden Immortal Realm to have their cultivation advance by leaps and bounds." Suddenly, Apotheosis Bella once again took out something from her interspatial ring and handed it to Supreme Star Soul. "Father, this is a piece of God's bone. Shio said that you're very talented in artifact refinement, so he asked me to send this piece of God's bone to refine into an immortal artifact that you like." "A God's bone?" Supreme Star Soul clenched his fists and said excitedly, "In the past, I could only refine an 8th-grade immortal artifact with a lot of precious materials. But with this piece of God's bone, not only can I refine a 9th-grade immortal artifact, but I might even be able to refine a pseudo-divine artifact. Shio is worthy of being my son." With this much God's blood, the overall strength of the Rosefinch Holy Sect will at least double within 100 years. Supreme Star Radiance didn't speak. Although he was full of excitement, he was still concerned about the most important issue. He asked, "Bella, you 2 Supremes have come to the Rosefinch Holy Sect. Does Shio have any powerhouses protecting him? The Great Tang Empire has been in the limelight for the past 100 years, so it's inevitable that some major forces will view it as an enemy." Apotheosis Bella smiled. "Excluding the 2 of us, the Great Tang Empire still has 4 supremes. They are Obsidian Immortal Father, Old Sycamore, Eagle, and Supreme Clear Spring. With these 4 supremes in the immortal world, there's no need to worry even if some major forces covet the Great Tang Empire. Moreover, Xiao has formulated a development plan. In the next 300 years, the Great Tang Empire will have at least several supremes. Hiss, Star Tears, Supreme Star Soul, and Supreme Star Radiance couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Never in their wildest dreams had they imagined that the Great Tang Empire would have so many supremes. If Apotheosis Bella and Sablefiend Scorpio were included, then the entire Great Tang Empire would have 6 supremes. If the 3 supremes of the Rosefinch Holy Sect were included, then there would be a total of 9 supremes. 9 supremes. In the entire immortal world, the most powerful sect, the Ghost Sect, seemed to have only 4 supremacy stage experts in total, right? Supreme Star Soul took a deep breath. He had already seen the hope of revenge, so he said in a deep voice, since Xiao wants to wait for another 300 years, then everyone in the Rosefinch Holy Sect will cultivate as fast as possible in the next 300 years. After 300 years, we will exterminate all the enemies and forces that have brought harm to the Rosefinch Holy Sect. Great Tang Empire. After Tan Xiao brought everyone back, he went through a series of arrangements and directly chose to go into seclusion to cultivate. At the same time, all the higher-ups of the Great Tang Empire also chose to remain silent. For a time, the entire Great Tang Empire became exceptionally quiet. Time passed by quickly. In the blink of an eye, 240 years had passed since Tan Xiao returned from Nifa's abyss. In these 240 years, Tan Xiao had consumed thousands of drops of god blood and used countless cultivation resources. His cultivation had also advanced by leaps and bounds as if he was sitting on a rocket. Boom, boom, while sitting cross-legged inside the palace, Tang Xiao's Dantian universe underwent tremendous changes. Tens of millions of celestial bodies trembled at the same time. The Heavenly Path universe tree that was tens of thousands of meters tall continuously extended its life source to the celestial bodies. Along with the infusion of this life source, the celestial bodies seemed to come to life and showed a faint vitality. The planets trembled, and the darkness around the Dantian universe seemed to collapse. As the darkness shattered, light reappeared. This universe had expanded by more than 10 times compared to 240 years ago. According to Tan Xiao's observation, the size of the entire Dantian universe was comparable to dozens of large-scale immortal domains. This is the 4th stage of the heavenly art of cosmic genesis, star universe? According to the records, only when all the planets in the Dantian universe possess life origin can it be called a star universe. However, the formation stage requires a long period of accumulation. It can be as short as a few thousand years, or as long as a few tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years. How did I manage to form a star universe in such a short period of time? Could it be because of the god blood and the god marrow? The moment Tan Xiao opened his eyes, his figure instantly disappeared from the palace. In the next moment, he appeared tens of thousands of meters high in the sky. Looking up at the vast universe, Tan Xiao's eyes glowed with golden light. Divine ability! Heavenly net. Tan Xiao instantly cast the heavenly net that he had just obtained, and the world in front of him was completely different from before. The densely packed lines were colorful and incomparably gorgeous. They formed a special network that occupied the entire space. It was as if this world was formed by these densely packed lines. This is the trace of the heavenly Tao? When Tan Xiao was a supreme in the immortal world, he could already touch the trace of the heavenly Tao. However, at that time, the trace of the heavenly Tao that he saw was only a blurry gray line. It was far from being as clear as it was now, nor was it as dazzling as it was now. Most importantly, he could easily distinguish the order of the flow of various energies between heaven and earth. If he encountered a battle, the power of his attack would skyrocket. Quiet Knight felt that some of his brother's filthy behavior had broken through the sky. Because ordinary beauties could no longer satisfy their aesthetic needs, they actually made a catgirl, and even said that she was willing to be a shit-shoveling officer. But to be honest, the catgirl's body really made people's blood boil. Just thinking about love between humans makes one feel dirty. Only between humans and beasts can there be true love. And what did I say? I said, brothers and sisters, hurry up and follow Quiet Night's official WeChat account. Directly select the official account from the WeChat friend list, type GS00, or search for Quiet Night's thoughts. Chapter 1373. Inside the palace, Tan Xiu's body was surging with a tremendous aura. All kinds of energy within a radius of tens of thousands of miles was continuously extracted by him and injected into his body. The heavenly art of cosmic genesis is indeed a supreme treasure that surpasses all the cultivation techniques in the immortal world. Although my current strength has improved by leaps and bounds, I'm only comparable to an early-stage supremacy stage powerhouse at most. Yet I can already see the trajectory of the heavenly Tao so clearly. It's a pity that the effect of the god blood on me has been greatly reduced. Otherwise, I'll be able to return to my peak state in 100 years at most if I keep cultivating at this speed. It's time to stop cultivating and start preparing to refine the divinity attainment pill. Tang Xiu floated up, and when he appeared outside the palace, he was slightly startled. This was because he found that nearly half of the Great Tang Empire's upper echelons had gathered outside, and everyone had a worried look on their faces. What's going on? Tan Xiu looked at everyone and asked with a puzzled expression. Ouyang Lulu strode forward and the worried look on her face faded away. She said, "You've been in seclusion for too long. Moreover, all the immortal qi in the surrounding tens of thousands of miles has poured into the palace. We were worried that something had happened to your cultivation, so we came here to wait for you. Are you all right?" I'm fine now," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "Everyone, disperse. I won't be in seclusion for a long time in the coming days. I need to refine some pills." Understood. As everyone left, Tan Xiu looked at the dozen people who stayed behind. They were all Tan Xiu's women. They hadn't seen Tan Xiu for a long time, so they naturally missed him. After Tan Xiu comforted them, they finally returned to their respective residences. The beautiful Gu Yin, who had been staying in the distance, floated over with a smile while biting an immortal grass. "Not bad," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "You've been cultivating for less than 300 years, yet you've already broken through to the Earth immortal stage. Such a cultivation speed is very rare even in the entire immortal world." Gu Yin giggled and said, "Master, I'll be able to break through to the heavenly immortal realm in at most half a year." Tan Xiu smiled and said, "Not bad, really not bad." "Master, my cultivation speed is actually very slow," said Gu Yin. "Compared to senior sister Yenner, I was so slow that it made me feel ashamed. You might not know this, but senior sister Yenner told me half a year ago that she would be able to break through to the supremacy stage in at most 3 years. Yin also wants to become a paragon in the immortal world, and I also want to help Master." Tan Xiu smiled and said, "Master does not need Yin's help. As long as you can cultivate happily and become stronger, it will be enough for you to be able to protect your loved ones in the future." While they were talking and laughing, suddenly, tribulation clouds surged in the sky, and thunder boomed. When Tang Xiu looked up at the sky, the corners of his mouth curled up and a thicker smile climbed up his face. This was the 13th time in the past 240 years that he had seen such a phenomenon. From the looks of it, there was another person who was going to undergo a tribulation to break through to Jizuan realm. "It's senior sister." Gu Yin looked at the figure that soared into the sky and immediately cried out in surprise. Tan Xiu looked at Gu Yenner's fairy-like figure in her fluttering white clothes and nodded with a smile. "Your senior sister was originally a perfected golden immortal, and she was only a step away from the supremacy stage. After several hundred years of cultivation, not only did she recover to her peak, but she was also able to break through to the supremacy stage. Her cultivation speed is indeed very fast. With the help of the god blood and her talent, I believe that it won't be difficult for her to pass the 49 heavenly tribulations. It seems that our great Tang Empire will have one more supremacy stage powerhouse." Whoosh! Bush, bush. Figures instantly appeared in front of Tan Xiu one after another. There were a total of 16 people, and all of them were supremacy stage powerhouses. Although only Old Sycamore and Obsidian Immortal Father were at the mid-stage supremacy stage, with so many supremacy stage powerhouses appearing in front of an outsider, they would definitely be able to intimidate the heroes of the immortal world. Obsidian Immortal Father had a complicated look in his eyes as he looked at Gu Yenner, who soared into the sky with a surging aura. He sighed and said, "Her accumulation is too deep. Once she breaks through to the supremacy stage, she will most likely be at the peak of the early stage supremacy stage. Your Majesty, I, Obsidian Immortal Father, admire very few people in my life, but I really admire you from the bottom of my heart. In just 200 to 300 years, our great Tang Empire has already produced more than a dozen supremacy stage powerhouses. I dare say that our great Tang Empire's strength can definitely be ranked first in the entire immortal world." Tan Xiu smiled and said, "Obsidian Immortal Father, it's really rare to hear you flatter me. However, your flattery makes me feel very comfortable." Obsidian Immortal Father grinned and said, "When I first followed your Majesty, I thought that your Majesty was too arrogant and that it was impossible to achieve your goals. But now, it seems that I was really narrow-minded. By the way, now that we have a strong army, shouldn't we get rid of those enemies you mentioned?" Tan Xiu smiled faintly and said, "There's no rush. There are still 60 years left until the 300-year deadline I set. In the next 60 years, our great Tang Empire will continue to train our troops and strive to conquer the other 6 immortal domains and make them our great Tang Empire's territories. When that time comes, we will sweep through the entire immortal world and dispatch our troops to get rid of those enemies." Obsidian Immortal Father's expression changed, and he immediately nodded and said, "I am willing to be your vanguard. When I chose to serve you back then, the masters of the 6 surrounding immortal domains must have mocked me countless times. When our great Tang Empire's army breaks through their territories, I want to see if they still have the qualifications to mock me then." In the sky, Gu Yenner held a 9th-grade immortal artifact in her hand and continuously shattered the lightning bolts that struck down. The 4-in-9 heavenly tribulation was an extremely dangerous tribulation for countless perfected golden immortals. If they could overcome it, they would be able to reach the heavens in a single step and become a supremacy stage powerhouse. If they failed, however, their souls would be destroyed and they would disappear forever. In the past, out of 10,000 perfected golden immortals who tried to overcome the tribulation, a 20% success rate was already considered extremely high. However, for the perfected golden immortals of the Great Tang Empire, the success rate was 100%. Everyone understood that this was the effect of the god's blood. Half a day later, Gu Yenner broke through her inner demon tribulation while laughing maniacally. She looked at the 4-in-9 heavenly tribulation proudly as her aura rose continuously. In just a little more than an hour, her aura had become several times stronger than before. Whoosh! After Gu Yenner appeared in front of Tan Xiu with lightning speed, she smiled and gave Tan Xiu a hug. Then, she said with a smile, "I used to fantasize countless times that I would break through to the supremacy stage one day. I even fantasized that the moment I broke through to the supremacy stage, you would be the first person I saw. Today, my wish has been completely fulfilled. The supremacy stage feels really good." Tan Xiu patted her back gently and said with a smile, "After you successfully broke through to the supremacy stage, you will be one of the top powerhouses in the immortal world. Give me some more time. When the strength of our great Tang Empire skyrockets, and the 300-year deadline is up, it will be time for our great Tang Empire's army to sweep through the immortal world and slaughter our enemies." Gu Yenner nodded her head firmly. Releasing her, Tang Xiu's gaze slowly swept across the faces of the 17 Supreme Being stage experts in front of him. As the smile on his face receded, he said with a stern expression, "Everyone, since you've chosen to pledge your loyalty to me, I naturally won't treat you unfairly. Our great Tang Empire can indeed do whatever we want in the immortal world, but becoming a supremacy is definitely not our goal. My goal is to ascend to the God realm with all of you in the future so that we can fight and kill in the God realm. Obsidian Immortal Father laughed dryly and said, Your Majesty, the God tribulation is simply too terrifying. Even 1 out of 100 supremacies can successfully transcend the God tribulation. Even if we have God blood, I'm afraid. Tan Xiu raised his hand and interrupted him. He smiled faintly and said, You're right. God blood is very helpful for perfected golden immortals to break through to the supremacy stage. However, other methods are needed to increase the success rate of transcending the God tribulation. From today onwards, I will begin refining the Divinity Attainment Pill. You should have all heard of the Divinity Attainment Pill. When all the supremacy stage powerhouses of our great Tang Empire break through to the late-stage supremacy stage, I will give each of you a Divinity Attainment Pill. At that time, I will set up an unparalleled array. I was able to transcend the God tribulation by myself, so I can also help you. Obsidian Immortal Father was surprised. You have transcended the God tribulation before? And you even succeeded? How is this possible? If you really did transcend the God tribulation, shouldn't you be in the God realm now? Tan Xiu smiled faintly and released a dozen or so surging primal chaos energy that wrapped around them. Without any resistance, he brought them into the palace. When Tan Xiu sat on the 9 Dragons throne and looked down at the 17 supremacy stage powerhouses, he said in a deep voice, I believe that many of you are wondering who I am. Obsidian Immortal Father, am I right? Obsidian Immortal Father pondered for a moment and nodded slowly. That's right. Your Majesty, I have never seen such power in my life. Furthermore, all the higher-ups of the Great Tang Empire know that we have a blood feud with a great enemy in the immortal world. The people we are targeting are also the enemies of the Rosefinch Holy Sect. Furthermore, Star Tears is a member of the Rosefinch Holy Sect, and Apotheosis Bella is the confidant of the Star Cultivation Great Emperor. Therefore, we suspect that even if you are not a member of the Rosefinch Holy Sect, you still have a deep relationship with the Rosefinch Holy Sect. Tan Xiu looked at Apotheon Mu, Apotheon Myriad Notes, Apotheon Soaring Plum, 9 Immortal Fingers, and Apotheon Enchantress Yu. He smiled faintly and said, Now, can you tell them how to address me? Apotheon Myriad Notes and the other 4 looked at each other. Then, they knelt in front of Tan Xiu with excited expressions and said in unison, Disciple greets Master. What? Chapter 1374. Apart from Gu Yen, all the other supremacy stage powerhouses looked incredulous. They all knew the identities of Apotheon Myriad Notes, Apotheon Mu, and the others. They thought that Tan Xiu was the one who took in these 5 experts of the Rosefinch Holy Sect, but they never expected that they would address Tan Xiu as master. It should be known that their master was the Star Cultivation Great Emperor, who had once shaken the entire immortal world. Star Cultivation Great Emperor had already failed his tribulation 1,000 years ago, and his soul had been destroyed. Tan Xiu slowly stood up and supported the 5 of them. Then he said in a deep voice, You didn't see or hear wrongly. I'm their master, the peerless genius of the Rosefinch Holy Sect, the supremacy stage expert who had shaken the entire immortal world. Star Cultivation Great Emperor. Star Cultivation Great Emperor? Obsidian Immortal Father and the others were shocked. They had fantasized about Tan Xiu's identity countless times, but they had never imagined that Tan Xiu was actually the Star Cultivation Great Emperor. Tan Xiu's eyes glinted coldly as he said in a deep voice, I'm sure you've heard about my past. You should even know that I used to have 2 best friends, Great Emperor Danqing of the Inner Pill Sect and Zither Demon Jiuyao of the Everlasting Palace. However, these 2 friends of mine suddenly tried to kill me when I was at my weakest after transcending my tribulation. If a wisp of my soul hadn't gone to another world and revived me, I'm afraid that my soul would have been destroyed. I'm telling you this because the day of revenge is approaching. Even if the current me hasn't recovered to my peak state, it shouldn't be a problem for me to fight a mid-level supreme martial artist. I'm confident that I can easily kill a mid-stage supremacy in 60 years. Obsidian Immortal Father took a long time to digest the news that the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor was the Star Cultivation Great Emperor. He sighed. No wonder the most infatuated Apotheosis Bella in the immortal world became your woman, your majesty. No wonder Apotheon Mu and the other four are willing to follow you, even though the Rosefinch Holy Sect is in danger. No wonder your strength improved so quickly, no wonder you kept sending people to the Rosefinch Holy Sect and gave them so many cultivation resources. The Nether Sea Whale King, who had successfully broken through to the Supremacy Realm, also sighed. Everyone in the immortal world knows that you were once good friends with Great Emperor Danqing and Zither Demon Jiuyao. But when you disappeared, they suddenly killed the disciples of the Rosefinch Holy Sect. These two despicable and shameless people, we will definitely follow His Majesty in the future and destroy their souls so that they will never be able to reincarnate. Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction and said, "Everyone, I've told you my biggest secret. I hope you can keep it a secret for me." "Definitely." Everyone who had just learned of Tan Xiu's true identity immediately swore an immortal oath. In the following days, apart from Gu Yan, the Great Tang Empire's 16 supremacy stage powerhouses were divided into 6 groups of troops. Each group was led by 2 or 3 supremacy stage powerhouses and launched an attack on the surrounding 6 immortal domains. 4 of the celestial realms did not have utmost exalted realm experts overseeing them. Thus, it only took them a little over a year to conquer all of them. As for the other 2 immortal domains, both of them had supremes overseeing them. However, the Great Tang Empire's supremes had brazenly attacked and killed all of them. 2 years. The Great Tang Empire occupied a total of 10 immortal domains. 20 years later, the Great Tang Empire had already fortified the 10 immortal domains and the entire empire's territory like an impregnable fortress. 50 years later, the number of perfected golden immortals in the Great Tang Empire had increased by 1 more. Excluding Apotheosis Bella from the Vermilion Bird Holy Sect and Tang Xiu himself, the entire Great Tang Empire now had a total of 18 supremes. The military had been reorganized into 20 armies, each of which had 5 million immortals. The total number of immortal soldiers in the 20 armies was exactly 100 million immortals. 100 million. These were purely combat-type soldiers. Each of them had experienced hundreds of battles and had undergone cruel military training. As for the other types of soldiers who served the armies, including medical, logistical, armaments, and so on, these people numbered more than 30 million immortals. In these 50 years, besides cultivating, Tan Xiu refined the divinity attainment pill every day. In order to refine the divinity attainment pill, the Great Tang Empire's treasury had been emptied. Fortunately, the Great Tang Empire occupied 6 immortal domains and plundered a large amount of wealth, so they were barely able to maintain the Great Tang Empire's expenses. In these 50 years, more than a dozen supremes from the immortal world came to the Great Tang Empire to visit Tan Xiu. On one hand, they wanted to inquire about the Great Tang Empire's situation, and on the other hand, they hoped to be on good terms with Tan Xiu and the Great Tang Empire. 46 pills. After Tan Xiu stored the divinity attainment pill he had just refined into his interspatial ring, a satisfied smile appeared on his handsome face. When he walked out of the alchemy room, he saw Guyan waiting outside for a long time. "Master, there's a guest who has been waiting for you here for 9 days, Gu Yinner said. Tan Xiu raised his brows and asked, "Which supreme is it?" Gu Yinner said, "The other party claims to be Supreme Purgatory, but he didn't tell us which faction he belongs to. Also, he's very strong. At the very least, he's much stronger than me." Tan Xiu narrowed his eyes and nodded. "Bring me to him." In the past, Tan Xiu had never heard of Supreme Purgatory's name before, which was very strange to him. If the other party had only broken through to the supremacy stage in the past 1,000 years, it was impossible for him to be stronger than Gu Yan. Therefore, Tan Xiu still wanted to meet this hidden supreme and find out who he was. Inside the palace, when Tan Xiu saw Supreme Purgatory, he sized him up and smiled. "Are you Supreme Purgatory?" Supreme Purgatory smiled. Are you the great Tang Heavenly Emperor? Tan Xiu nodded. That's right. I am. Since you've come to my great Tang Empire as a guest, you should introduce yourself, right? Supreme Purgatory smiled. Convict Arena, Supreme Purgatory. Convict Arena? Tan Xiu was shocked. He knew a lot about the Convict Arena, but he didn't know much about the big shots behind the Convict Arena. This Supreme Purgatory claimed to be someone from the Convict Arena, so he didn't dare to be negligent. I've never heard of Supreme Purgatory's name before. It seems like you've hidden it well. If I'm not wrong, you should be the true controller of the Convict Arena in this era, right? Tan Xiu asked. Supreme Purgatory smiled. That's right. I'm indeed the true controller of the Convict Arena in this era. Tan Xiu nodded and asked, May I know why Supreme Purgatory has come to visit? Supreme Purgatory smiled. I want to prove something, so I came to visit. I hope the great Tang Heavenly Emperor can explain it to me. Please ask. Tan Xiu invited him to sit down and said. Supreme Purgatory said, the great Tang Empire has only been established in the immortal world for about 1,000 years, but in such a short time, you've occupied 10 immortal domains. I want to ask, does the great Tang Heavenly Emperor want to become the overlord of the immortal world? Do you want to occupy the entire immortal world? Tan Xiu shook his head and said, My great Tang Empire will no longer expand our territory. However, we will still take back our former territories. As for the enemies of our great Tang Empire, once we get rid of them, their territories will become our great Tang Empires. Supreme Purgatory smiled. Since the great Tang Heavenly Emperor doesn't plan to occupy the immortal world completely, nor do you have any intention of becoming the only emperor of the immortal world, then I'm relieved. My Convict Arena has been in the immortal world for countless years, and our forces are huge. However, we still don't have any intention of becoming the overlord. Therefore, as long as the great Tang Empire doesn't make things difficult for us, we naturally won't go against the great Tang Empire. Who knows, we might even be able to help each other and develop together in the future. Tan Xiu nodded slowly and said, If Supreme Purgatory really wants to cooperate, then we don't have to wait for the future. We can cooperate now. Supreme Purgatory revealed a surprised expression and asked, How does the great Tang Heavenly Emperor want to cooperate? Tan Xiu smiled and said, As far as I know, there are many deathmatch gladiators in the Convict Arena. My great Tang Empire is currently in the midst of recruiting soldiers and purchasing horses. If the Convict Arena can send a batch of deathmatch gladiators to my great Tang Empire, we will be allowed to owe you money for a period of time. In the future, when the time comes, I will give you 1% more as interest. What do you think of this cooperation? Supreme Purgatory laughed involuntarily and said, Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, are you trying to gain something without risking anything? Tan Xiu smiled faintly and said, It's not like I'm trying to gain something without risking anything. There are banks in the small world that I used to live in. It's similar to the banks in the mortal world of the immortal world. However, I like this kind of lending method very much. The deathmatch gladiators of the Convict Arena either die in battle or win the bets of the gamblers. However, if you have too many deathmatch gladiators, you might as well sell a batch to us. Supreme Purgatory raised his hand and smiled. Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, I understand what you mean. If it wasn't for the accident that happened a few hundred years ago, I could have cooperated with your great Tang Empire. Unfortunately, the number of deathmatch gladiators in the Convict Arena is not excessive. Instead, we are severely lacking. My other reason for coming here is to discuss with the great Tang Heavenly Emperor. If the great Tang Empire fights against strong enemies in the future, you can sell the captured enemies to the Convict Arena. We will definitely buy them at a high price. Tan Xiu looked at him in a daze and asked in puzzlement, What happened in the Convict Arena a few hundred years ago? I remember that the Convict Arena didn't lack deathmatch gladiators in the past. In fact, I even bought some deathmatch gladiators from the Convict Arena to work for me. Lolas have 3 good points: voiceless, supple, and easy to push down. Who do you think is the most beautiful, obedient, and adorable Lolita in the immortal world? Brothers and sisters who want to find out, please follow Quiet Knight's WeChat account. The obedient and adorable Lolita is waiting for you there. Quiet Night's WeChat account is jwgs00, or you can search for Quiet Night's thoughts on WeChat and follow her. Chapter 1375. Supreme Purgatory smiled bitterly and said, I met a rich customer. In just a few years, he secretly arranged for people to buy a large number of death gladiators from my convict arena. He even bought dozens of perfected golden immortal deathmatch gladiators. Hiss. Even though Tan Xiao was mentally strong, he was still shocked by Supreme Purgatory's words. He couldn't help but gasp. In just a few years, he had bought dozens of perfected golden immortals. Even he did not spend so much money in the past. Tan Xiao stared at Supreme Purgatory and asked, Where did he come from? Supreme Purgatory asked, Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, do you know about the missing star empire of the Heavenly Phoenix Immortal Domain? Tan Xiao nodded. I heard about it a few hundred years ago. A few hundred years ago, a ruthless perfected golden immortal appeared in the Heavenly Phoenix Immortal Domain. In just a few years, he created a small country called the Missing Star Empire. However, this country is not a mortal country. It is a cultivation empire, and the ruler of this empire is called the Missing Star Immortal Venerable. I have heard of him before, but I don't know much about this Missing Star Immortal Venerable and the Missing Star Empire. Supreme Purgatory said slowly, Indeed, this first empress of the Missing Star Empire was like your great Tang Empire. She also attracted the attention of countless forces and caused a huge commotion in the immortal world. And the person who knows her the most is probably me. Tan Xiao was surprised. What do you mean? Supreme Purgatory said, This Missing Star Immortal Venerable bought a total of 60 perfected golden immortals from the convict arena. She bought almost half of our perfected golden immortal deathmatch gladiators. She even bought a total of 600 golden immortal deathmatch gladiators. How extravagant! Tan Xiao couldn't help but exclaim. Supreme Purgatory nodded. It is indeed extravagant. The Missing Star Immortal Venerable was truly formidable. After she established the Missing Star Empire, she took an unconventional path and relied on her vast wealth to continuously recruit soldiers and expand her influence. The Missing Star Empire of today was no longer the small kingdom that had been holed up in the Heavenly Phoenix celestial domain. The Missing Star Empire had already occupied 6 immortal domains, and they had countless immortal soldiers and generals. There were even 5 supremes by the side of the Missing Star Venerable Immortal. Unfortunately, Tan Xiao's eyes revealed a look of vigilance. This was because he realized that the Missing Star Empire's development model was extremely similar to the Great Tang Empire's. In fact, the number of Supremacy Realm experts they had far surpassed that of many super-immortal sections. What's a pity? Tan Xiao asked. Supreme Purgatory sighed and said, It's a pity that the Missing Star Empire has gotten into big trouble recently. They actually clashed with the 100 Poison Sect. 4 years ago, the 100 Poison Sect had clashed with the Missing Star Empire. The members of the 100 Poison Sect were ruthless enough to use poison to destroy many of the Missing Star Empire's cities and kill hundreds of millions of its citizens. As a result, a large-scale battle broke out between the two sides. Up until now, both sides have suffered great losses. The 100 Poison Sect. Tan Xiao's eyes flashed with a cold light as he said in a deep voice, The 100 Poison Sect's methods are too cruel. They actually killed so many immortal world beings with poison. They are no different from demons. Supreme Purgatory was extremely indifferent to life, so he said slowly, This is the law of survival. If you want to blame someone, blame the conflict between the Missing Star Empire and the 100 Poison Sect. Suddenly, Supreme Purgatory received a communication talisman. When he read the contents of the communication talisman, his expression instantly became interesting. He said in a strange tone, The 100 Poison Sect's 100 Poison Sect has been killed. The 100 Poison Sect has been annihilated. Interesting, very interesting. The combat power of the Missing Star Empire is truly terrifying. Tan Xiao was shocked and said in disbelief, Although the 100 Poison Sect is not considered a super sect in the immortal world, It is still a second-rate sect with a very deep foundation. But it was actually annihilated by the missing star empire that was established hundreds of years ago? Supreme Purgatory smiled and said, "Isn't the Great Tang Empire also established hundreds of years ago? I'm afraid they have the strength to annihilate the 100 Poison sect, right?" Tan Xiu heard this and did not act humble. He said proudly, "Although the 100 Poison sect is very strong, they are no match for the Great Tang Empire." Half a day later, Supreme Purgatory left the convict arena. However, before he left, he still made a deal with Tan Xiu. He was willing to send 500 golden immortal gladiators to the Great Tang Empire. As for the money, he would pay them after 1,000 years. The interest would be 2%. After Supreme Purgatory left, Tan Xiu immediately called Jin Shi back. At the same time, he called the golden-eyed Great Pang and the limitless monstrous wolf over. "Your Majesty, what are your orders?" Jin Shi had some understanding of Tan Xiu's personality. He understood that something big must have happened for Tan Xiu to call him back. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and said, "Jin Shi, how is the development of the intelligence department?" Jin Shi said, "The 10 immortal domains that we have occupied have been completely controlled by the intelligence department. Nothing in the immortal domains can escape the eyes of our intelligence department. In addition, we have also placed a large number of our intelligence personnel in the 18 immortal domains outside of the Great Tang Empire's territory. In another 100 years, we will be able to establish a complete intelligence network in those 18 immortal domains." Tan Xiu said in a deep voice, "I will give you a month to arrange everything here. After that, you will personally lead your men to the missing star empire. My mission for you is to develop the tightest intelligence network in the shortest time possible. Jin Shi, you must know that the missing star empire is a cultivation empire. Their internal control is probably not any weaker than the Great Tang Empire's. Therefore, I will send the golden-eyed Great Pang and the limitless monstrous wolf to protect you. I hope that you can complete the mission I have given you." Jin Shi said respectfully, "Your Majesty, I will do my best." Tan Xiu took out a miniature heavenly abode artifact and handed it to Jin Shi. He said, "There are many cultivation resources in here, as well as some immortal crystals and crystal essences. There are also quite a few divine weapons. If you want to develop the intelligence network, you will need to use all sorts of methods. Therefore, this is the only thing I can prepare for you." Jin Shi said excitedly, "Your Majesty, don't worry. According to my experience in setting up intelligence networks, if the missing star empire's control is tight, then I will slowly set up the network. If their control is lax, then I will develop it in secret. You will definitely see results within 100 years. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "I will give you 20 years. Within 20 years, no matter how much you can do, you must retreat from the missing star empire. There is not much time left until the 300-year plan is completed." Jin Shi said respectfully. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, "All right, go and make the arrangements." Half a month later, Tan Xiu stood at the top of the palace and watched Jin Shi leave. He then turned to look at Zenith Venerable, Seaway Monarch, and Eagle. He said slowly, "I am very curious about the missing star empire. Let's go together. I really want to see just what kind of background this missing star empire's missing star Venerable has. She has helped our Great Tang Empire a lot, so we should pay her a visit." Seaway Monarch was confused. "The missing star empire helped us a lot? How come I didn't know about this?" Tan Xiu smiled faintly and said, "The missing star empire has been fighting with the 100 Poison sect for the past few years. Now they have even destroyed the 100 Poison sect. The 100 Poison sect is the same as the Myriad Sword sect. They are both enemies of the Rosefinch Holy sect, so they are naturally our enemies as well. And the enemy of my enemy is my friend." Seaway Monarch suddenly understood and said with a smile, "Your Majesty, since you are going to the missing star empire personally, why don't you follow Jin Shi and the others openly? Why do you want to follow them secretly?" Tan Xiu said, "One in the open and the other in the dark. This way, we can easily deal with any danger we encounter. We don't know much about the current situation in the missing star empire. Furthermore, we will pass by a few dangerous places along the way, so it is better for us to be more cautious. Whoosh! A hazy figure suddenly appeared in front of Tan Xiao and the others. The beautiful Mu Weining glanced at Zenith Venerable and the others. She hesitated for a moment and said, "Elders, can you leave for a moment? I have something to discuss with His Majesty." The three of them replied and immediately flew away. Tan Xiao looked confused and asked curiously, "Weining, what is it that you need to discuss with me in private?" Mu Weining hesitated for a moment, and a blush appeared on her beautiful face. She said in a low voice, "I am pregnant." What? Tan Xiao was stunned. Then, a look of disbelief appeared in his eyes. He never dreamed that Mu Weining would say such a thing when she wanted to discuss something with him in private. Pregnant? He was going to be a father? Tan Xiao looked at Mu Weining's blushing face and suddenly laughed out loud. "Good. This is great news. Tan Xiao am going to be a father. This is great news. In the past, I thought that there was something wrong with my body and why I didn't have any children. Now, it seems that it's not that I can't bear children, but that the time has not come yet. Weining, how long has it been?" Mu Weining was pulled into Tan Xiao's arms by Tan Xiao. She said shyly, "It should be about 2 months. I know you are going to leave again, so, can you leave a few days later? I want you to be by my side when the child is born." Tan Xiao said without hesitation, "No problem. I was planning to leave the Great Tang Empire immediately to take care of some matters outside. Since you are pregnant, then I will postpone my departure. By the way, does Mother know that you are pregnant?" Mu Weining shook her head and said, "She doesn't know yet. I'll be the first to tell you." Tan Xiao hugged her and instantly disappeared outside the palace. When they appeared again, they were already in the courtyard where his mother lived. Looking at Su Lingyun, who was ridiculing his younger brother, Tang Xing, in the courtyard, Tan Xiao let go of Mu Weining with a smile and said, "There's something I need to tell you, Mother. A lot of brothers and sisters are discussing the ending date of the immortal world in the WeChat public account, as well as the many pitfalls in the immortal world. For example, why Tan Xiao doesn't have a child and why Ji Qimei hasn't appeared yet. Everyone can rest assured that Quiet Night will fill in the pitfalls one by one, so the update is a bit slow. Please give Quiet Night some patience in the last few days. Since there are a lot of pitfalls to be filled, the ending date may be delayed until the National Day." Chapter 1376. When Su Lingyun saw Tan Xiao, she immediately said with dissatisfaction, "Don't tell me about your empire's affairs. Xiao, help me talk to your brother. He's not young anymore, yet he's not willing to find a woman to marry and have children with. You've already made my hair turn white, and now he's giving me even more trouble." Tan Xiao smiled and said, "Mother, my brother doesn't want to marry and have children for the time being, so don't force him. If the time was right, he might get married soon. Don't you want to hear about the great news I'm about to tell you?" "Great news?" Su Lingyun suddenly quivered. She walked a few steps toward Mu Weining and hurriedly asked, "Are you pregnant?" Mu Weining blushed and nodded silently. Su Lingyun's eyes widened with excitement. She hurriedly said, "Really? I'm going to be a grandmother?" A strange expression appeared on Tang Xiao's handsome face. Never did he expect that his mother would immediately guess that Mu Weining was pregnant when he just told her that there was a big happy event. How much did she want to hold a grandson? In just half a day, all the upper echelons of the Great Tang Empire received a definite news. The imperial concubine of the Great Tang Empire, Mu Weining, was pregnant. This news quickly spread throughout the Great Tang Empire as if it had grown wings. Thus, Tan Xiao's trip to the missing star empire was delayed. Misty Spring Ocean, Fragrant Island. Inside a palace, a man and a woman sat cross-legged quietly, reading the contents of a large number of jade slips in front of them. Suddenly, the old woman raised her head and looked at the girl sitting by the window with a dull expression. She said, "Commander, I have something to report." The girl turned to look at the old woman and asked, "What is it?" The old woman said, I just received definite news that one of the imperial concubines of the Great Tang Empire, Mu Weining, has been confirmed to be pregnant. I'm afraid that the Great Tang Empire's first heir will be born soon. The girl stared blankly for a moment. Then, a glint flashed in her eyes. After sending a message token, she slowly said, "His Majesty ordered us to establish an intelligence network in the Great Tang Empire. Although we've tried our best, the Great Tang Empire's intelligence network is much more powerful than ours. In the past few hundred years, we've lost too many people. Now, I've finally obtained some useful information." The old woman smiled bitterly and said, "The Emperor of the Great Tang Empire is quite similar to our Imperial Majesty. They both attach great importance to intelligence. As a result, the intelligence network that we have set up will be punctured from time to time. I really don't know when this kind of hard work will end." The girl shook her head and said, "Her Majesty definitely knows the Emperor of the Great Tang Empire. Otherwise, she wouldn't be so afraid of the Great Tang Empire and pay so much attention to the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. Immortal World, Heavenly Phoenix Immortal Domain. A towering palace towered into the clouds, completely pitch black in color. Hundreds of arrays enveloped the palace, and there were countless immortal soldiers stationed everywhere, protecting this place impenetrably. A perfected golden immortal wearing a black battle robe and a red cloak had a look of surprise on her beautiful face. When she caught the stream of light that shot over, she did not dare to read the contents of the communication talisman, but quickly entered the palace. "Your Majesty." Black Phoenix appeared in the throne room and looked at the missing star Venerable, who was sitting on the 9 Phoenix throne. She respectfully said, "The Great Tang Empire has just sent a 7-star intelligence report. Please take a look, Your Majesty." Sitting on the 9 Phoenix throne, the missing star Venerable, who was wearing a black mask and was shrouded in a black robe, slowly raised her head. When she grabbed the jade talisman and finished reading it, her body, which was shrouded in a black robe, trembled slightly. Her entire body was shrouded in a surging black mist. "I understand. You may leave." Black Phoenix was startled. She could hear the slight tremble in Her Majesty's voice. 2 days later, the missing star Venerable passed down a sage jade. She will go into seclusion for 100 years. Supreme Murong will be in charge of the missing star empire. Unless the empire is in danger of being destroyed, no one is to disturb her. In the entire Missing Star Empire, only Supreme Murong knew that the Emperor of the Missing Star Empire had left alone after announcing the Sage Jade. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, more than half a year had passed. Great Tang Empire. Following the resounding cry of a baby, streaks of light flew out from the Great Tang Empire's palace in all directions. The birth of a prince is a joyous occasion. Tan Xiao stood in front of the bed and hugged his son. The feeling of being connected by blood lingered in his heart for a long time. He was very excited, but his heart was filled with complicated feelings. The scenes of the past seemed to be deeply engraved in the deepest part of his heart. They were so clear that it made Tan Xiao's heart ache. "Husband, 100 Herbs Immortal has come to diagnose us. I hope that our bodies are fine. Husband, Qingqing is so happy. We are really fine. I want to give birth to a child that belongs to us as soon as possible. Husband, it's been 6 times. 100 Herbs Immortal has come 6 times already. Why is it that our bodies are all fine, but we can't get pregnant with your child? Husband, I really envy Yingwei. She is only 2,000 years old, but she has already given birth to 6 children. Husband, Qingqing seems to have given birth to a child for you. Husband, take a concubine. I don't want to see. Husband, Tan Xiao's heart ached as if it was being cut by a knife. It was so painful that his hands, which were holding his son, trembled slightly. In the past, he had imagined countless times that one day he would be able to stand in front of his bed, hug his child, and look at the blissful face of his beloved on the bed. "Xiao, let me hug you." Mu Weining, who was lying on the bed, spoke, waking Tan Xiao up from his memories. A trace of guilt grew in his heart as he carefully handed the child to Mu Weining. "Xiao, give him a name." "Tang Yan." Tan Xiu didn't even think about it and blurted it out. After saying that, his body trembled and he instantly disappeared. When he reappeared in another place, a look of hatred appeared on his face. That's right. It was a look of hatred. The person he hated was none other than himself. In the past, he thought that he had forgotten about the past and that woman. But now, he suddenly realized that how could he forget his beloved of thousands of years just like that? After a long time, Tan Xiu finally calmed down and sighed deeply. Perhaps, giving time is the best choice. A month later, the great Tang Empire held the Universal Heavenly Banquet to celebrate Tang Yan's 1-month-old birthday. It was also on this day that Tan Xiu decided not to wait any longer and announced the start of the war. He wanted to slaughter. He wanted to give his son, who was just born, a peaceful future. He wanted to use the Great Tang Empire's cavalry and the Great Tang Empire's killing machine to carve out a bright future. He could bear the hatred, but he wasn't willing to let his son bear it. Therefore, before his son grew up, he wanted to kill his enemies with his own hands. At the Rosefinch Holy Sect, Supreme Star Soul sat on the sect master's throne with a smile on his face. He held the hand of his wife, Apotheon Carmen Mist, and his gaze seemed to penetrate the void and land on his precious grandson. "Husband, it's about to start, right?" Although Apotheon Carmen Mist was excited, she still maintained a calm expression and asked. The smile on Supreme Star Soul's face slowly disappeared, and he said with a solemn expression, "The Great Tang Empire's military has undergone a strange change, and a large number of its soldiers have gone missing. If my guess is correct, Xiu is preparing to carve out a peaceful environment for our future precious grandson. 1,000 years have passed, and it's time for revenge." Apotheon Carmen Mist said, "I used to blame myself for being too weak, but it's finally over now. I've broken through to the supremacy stage, and our Rosefinch Holy Sect now has a total of 8 Supremes. Including Apotheon Bella and Sable Fiend Scorpio, we have a total of 10 Supremes. Even if we kill our way out now, we'll be able to exterminate all those bastards from the Inner Pill Sect and the Everlasting Palace." Supreme Star Soul nodded silently and said, "You're right, but we can't let our guard down. Even if our Rosefinch Holy Sect has the strength to take revenge, we'll still suffer great losses if we kill all the enemies. Therefore we must wait. Wait for Xiu to lead his army here." "Alright." Apotheon Carmen Mist nodded heavily. Outside the Rosefinch Holy Sect, Great Emperor Danqing, who was cultivating cross-legged in the palace on a planet in the vast starry sky, suddenly had a slight change in his expression. When he appeared outside, he looked at the 4 black-robed men and women flying over from the distant void. His gaze finally landed on the chests of their black robes. The Ghost Sect. Shade Demon Zhu Wushou's subordinates? Zither Demon Joyao appeared beside Great Emperor Danqing without a sound and said slowly. Great Emperor Danqing sneered. Shade Demon Zhu Wushou's heart is vicious, and he's plotting something big. When we besieged the Vermilion Bird Holy Sect, Shade Demon Zhu Wushou personally led a large number of Ghost Sect experts to help us. He's even more ruthless than us in killing the disciples of the Rosefinch Holy Sect. Now that his people have come to our place, I wonder what they want." As the two spoke, the 4 people had already flown in front of them. Great Emperor Danqing, Zither Demon Joyao. The red-haired old man in the lead glanced at the two and said slowly, "I'm here on behalf of my sect master to inform you that the Great Tang Empire has a supremacy stage powerhouse. He's the former disciple of the Star Cultivation Great Emperor of the Rosefinch Holy Sect, Apotheon Mu. The original master of the Misty Spring Ocean is also Apotheon Mu." Zither Demon Joyao said lightly, "In Wufa, you're a supremacy stage powerhouse. You didn't come here just to tell us this, did you?" The red-haired old man in Wufa shook his head and said, "Of course not. What I'm trying to say is that the Great Tang Empire's emergence is really strange, and the speed of its development is unprecedented. Therefore, our Ghost Sect master speculates that the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor has a very deep relationship with the Rosefinch Holy Sect. Now, the Great Tang Empire has mobilized a lot of troops, and at least 80% of them have disappeared without a trace in just a few days. Therefore, our sect master is afraid that something unexpected will happen here, so he sent the four of us here to help. Quiet Night's EQ is very low, and she doesn't know how to write about women. All the women who appear in the immortal world are necessary for the plot. As for how their relationship develops, it's all natural. Quiet Night didn't deliberately matchmake anyone, nor did she deliberately try to distract anyone. The relationship between Tan Xiao and Xue Qingqing is what worries Quiet Night the most. I still hope that Bella, Xian and Tan Xiao's relationship can be relaxed and not so heavy. Oh, that's right. Quiet Night's gift to our brothers and sisters today is Gu Xiaoxue. Those who are in good health can go and have a taste, while those who are in bad health can leave their monthly tickets and recommendation tickets and leave. Quiet Night's WeChat account is JYJS00, or you can directly search for Quiet Night and follow her account. Chapter 1377. Blackwind Immortal Domain. 3 lightning-fast figures appeared on a planet out of thin air. Tan Xiao, who was clad in a black battle robe and wielding a divine sword, coldly surveyed his surroundings. Ever since the Great Tang Empire's army entered their heavenly abode artifacts and hurried towards the Rosefinch Holy Sect 9 days ago, he had faintly sensed that someone was spying on them from the surroundings. He had even used the heavenly magic mirror, but he still couldn't find any traces of the other party. Therefore, he left the army with Old Sycamore and Eagle in an attempt to lure the enemy out. Furthermore, there were still 4 Supremes lying dormant in the small heavenly abode artifact that he carried with him. He could immediately summon them to fight the enemy once he discovered the enemy. Your Majesty, could it be that you're hallucinating? Eagle's keen eyes kept scanning the surroundings, but his tone was somewhat hesitant. Tan Xiao shook his head and said, "No, I've had this feeling countless times in the past, and it has helped me survive countless crises. I'm sure that someone is hiding in the dark and spying on us right now. If the other party is hostile towards us, I'm afraid that they'll show themselves very soon." Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days had passed. During these 2 days, Tan Xiao and the others had been sitting cross-legged on this planet, but they didn't relax even a little. Suddenly, Eagle's heart stirred and he said, "They're here." Tan Xiao floated up and looked at the distant void. He could already clearly see a war chariot approaching from afar, and it quickly appeared 10,000 meters away. On the war chariot, there was only a mysterious person shrouded in a black robe. He wore an immortal robe that could isolate spiritual sense, and he wore a black mask on his face. "Who are you?" Tan Xiao stood in the air and stared at the mysterious person. On the war chariot, Shade Demon Zhu Wushou's lips curled into a smile, and his eyes revealed a cold expression. He said slowly, "Someone once asked me this question, but all of them have perished. If I remember correctly, most of them are from the Rosefinch Holy Sect." A chilling light burst out from Tan Xiao's eyes as he said in a deep voice, "Someone once told me that he was the one who hurt my disciple and almost made my Yenna's soul fly away and scatter. He is you, I suppose?" "Sure, which? Gu Yenner?" Shade Demon Zhu Wushou slowly took off the mask on his face. He also took off the hoodie he was wearing, revealing his devilishly handsome face and his head of white hair that draped over his shoulders. Tan Xiao laughed coldly and said, "Zhu Wushou is a schemer. I didn't expect that you would take the initiative to deliver yourself to me before I even went to look for you. The hatred between you and the Rosefinch Holy Sect was once hidden so deeply that even I didn't notice it at all. I really admire you." Shade Demon Zhu Wushou laughed loudly and said, "I didn't expect this, I definitely didn't expect this." The dignified Great Tang Heavenly Emperor of the Great Tang Empire was actually the former Star Cultivation Great Emperor. This is really interesting, very interesting. That stupid disciple of mine actually betrayed me for you. She died a quick death, but you survived. This really makes me angry. Also, those 2 trash Great Emperor Danqing and Zither Demon Juyao had planned for so long, but they still failed. Tan Xiao clenched his fists and looked at Shade Demon Zhu Wushou with resentment. If one were to ask who he hated the most in this world, it wouldn't be Great Emperor Danqing or Zither Demon Juyao. It was this Shade Demon Zhu Wushou in front of him. It was him. He made me taste the feeling of being betrayed by the woman I loved. It was him. He hid in the dark and manipulated the persecution of me. Tan Xiu's face was a bit sinister as he said in a deep voice, "Your precious disciple didn't betray you. If she hadn't tried to kill me first, I'm afraid that great Emperor Danqing and zither demon Jiuyao wouldn't have been able to kill me. In the past, I only let my guard down against the people closest to me. Apart from my father and my relatives, she was the only one." Shade Demon Zhu Wushou laughed out loud. "So that's how it is. It seems that you hate her very much in your heart, right? It's a pity that she's already dead. Otherwise, I would really like to see the scene of you two meeting again. It would be very interesting, right? Am I right? The most dazzling supreme of the immortal world, star cultivation great emperor?" Tan Xiu sneered. "I'm afraid your wishful thinking will fail." Zhu Wushou laughed. "It doesn't matter. She's just a pawn of mine after all. Even if her soul is destroyed, it won't be a loss to me. But you, I'm really curious. You've been able to recover so much strength in such a short time after recultivating. Moreover, you've even established a colossus like the Great Tang Empire. You're really amazing." Tang Xiu took a deep breath and said, "Since you know that my Great Tang Empire is a behemoth with countless powerhouses, yet you still dare to show yourself, I don't know whether I should praise you for your courage or curse you for being stupid." Shade Demon Zhu Wushou raised his hand and said with a smile, "One last question. If you can answer my last question, I'll give you a chance to fight me head-on." "Ask away," Tan Xiu said indifferently. Zhu Wushou laughed. "The Heavenly Emperor cutting off one of his arms should be related to you, right? What kind of trump card did you use to make him not hesitate to harm himself?" Tan Xiu said indifferently, "I just told someone to tell him that if he doesn't want to die, he should cut off one of his arms to resolve this grudge." Shade Demon Zhu Wushou's expression changed slightly, and the smile on his face disappeared. He stared deeply at Tan Xiu and said coldly, "What an awe-inspiring Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. What a trashy Heavenly Emperor. A dignified supremacy stage powerhouse actually got scared by a few words from you. What an idiot. Forget it. I'll get rid of you today. I have a way to destroy your Great Tang Empire." After he finished speaking, he waved his arms and layers of figures appeared out of thin air. In just a few breaths, 6 supremacy stage powerhouses and dozens of perfected golden immortals appeared around Tan Xiu, Eagle, and Old Sycamore. How is this possible? Tan Xiu's expression changed greatly. When he saw the 6 supremacy stage powerhouses, he roared angrily, "Mantis Supreme, Boundless Supreme, Ice Snow Supreme. I didn't expect that you 3 would become Zhu Wushou's lackeys." Ice Snow sneered. "Star Cultivation Great Emperor? Oh, I misspoke. You should be the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor now, right? We obtained what we wanted from Shade Demon Zhu Wushou, so we're naturally willing to serve him. Do you know? As long as we kill you, we'll get the Divinity Attainment Pill. If we get the Divinity Attainment Pill, we'll have at least a 60% chance of crossing the Divinity Tribulation and ascending to the God Realm." "You want to kill me? Dream on." Tan Xiu instantly summoned the 4 supremacy stage powerhouses from his interspatial ring and said proudly, "Although your realms are higher than ours, we don't lack killing methods. Since Shade Demon Zhu Wushou wants to set the battlefield here, then we'll fight to our heart's content." However, Supreme Ice Snow's expression changed greatly and he asked in a deep voice, "However what?" Tan Xiu sneered. "However, your time is limited. If you can't kill us all in 7 days, I'm afraid that the end of the world will fall upon your heads. My Great Tang Empire has nearly 20 supremacy stage powerhouses now. I'd like to see whether it'll be us or you who will die in this final game." "You're exaggerating." Supreme Ice Snow snorted coldly. He didn't believe Tan Xiu's words at all. After all, he had never heard of any power having more than 10 utmost exalted level experts, let alone close to 20. Shade Demon Zhu Wushou said coldly, "Enough with the nonsense. Kill them. After killing them, we still need to make a trip to the Rosefinch Holy Sect. It wasn't easy for us to obtain the formation-breaking talisman from the demon realm. The Rosefinch Holy Sect has been struggling at death's door for thousands of years, so it's about time for it to be destroyed. The 6 Supremacy Stage powerhouses who had followed Shade Demon Zhu Wushou here, as well as dozens of perfected golden immortals, unleashed a terrifying attack at the same time. Rainbow Phantasm Realm. Tan Xiu immediately used the Rainbow Phantasm Realm when he attacked. His target was Shade Demon Zhu Wushou and the other 6 Supremacy Stage powerhouses. PFFF, 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 PFFF. Shade Demon Zhu Wushou and the other 6 Supremacy Stage subordinates were caught off guard and were instantly bewitched by the Rainbow Phantasmagoria realm. However, they were able to forcibly break free from the illusory realm in the blink of an eye. They even managed to avoid Tang Xiu, Old Sycamore, and the others' attacks on their vitals. Star Cultivation Great Emperor. The Shade Demon Zhu Wushou was a late-stage Supremacy Stage powerhouse. In fact, his battle prowess alone was enough to contend against 2 or 3 early-stage and mid-stage Supremacy Stage powerhouses. As Eagle, Old Sycamore, and the other Supremacy Stage powerhouses were entangled by the other Supremacies and attacked by dozens of perfected golden immortals, Tan Xiu was sent flying in just a few breaths' time. What a strong physique. I didn't expect the reborn Star Cultivation Great Emperor to become a body cultivator. Although Tan Xiu was sent flying, he didn't suffer much damage. However, he could clearly feel the gap between him and Shade Demon Zhu Wushou. There are too many enemies and they're too strong. I can't fight them head-on. Tan Xiu took a deep breath and immediately used his most powerful divine ability, Heavenly Net. As dreamlike spatial lines appeared, Tan Xiu released a steady stream of primal chaos force from his body. In almost an instant, the Supremacy Stage powerhouses in front of Eagle, Old Sycamore, and the other 5 were affected. 2 of them were severely injured in the blink of an eye, while the other 4 were also injured. What the hell is this? Open for me. A furious expression appeared on Shade Demon Zhu Wushou's bewitching face as he ruthlessly slashed at Tan Xiu with his long saber. Countless lines of various colors overlapped and bound the saber light. Boom. In the end, the long saber cut through all the lines and slashed at the primal chaos force released by Tan Xiu. As Tan Xiu was sent flying backward, Shade Demon Zhu Wushou instantly appeared in front of Tan Xiu. A ball of light instantly appeared and ruthlessly attacked Tan Xiu's head. It was as if he wanted to kill Tan Xiu with a single strike. Today's second update is here. It's a rare opportunity to get double monthly votes. Please support me, brothers and sisters. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.